in wild circumstance if for BYU fans who followed the team closely last year and then this year had last year's starting quarterback and maybe this year's starting quarterback both in the college football playoff. It's just that is the nature of the college football playoff and the world of college football right now. It's a strange, strange time to be observing this, our favorite sport in the land. Utah, there's nothing really new to report on Utah's outlook here in this college football playoff world. The projection for the committee right now is that Miami will be the ACC champ. They're talking about the ACC as a one-bid league. All right, fine. If you're a Utah fan, if you're a BYU fan, you're a little bit nervous about Vanderbilt. I still don't think that this committee is inclined to leapfrog a team that continues to win. There is some danger if you're Utah, right? If the scenario we've talked about a lot of times where BYU wins into the conference championship game and then loses in convincing fashion to Texas Tech again, and then the committee says, all right, well, sorry, but you can't lose twice to a playoff caliber team and have us put you in the playoff. Then maybe the at-large, if one opens up in that case, would be given to Vanderbilt if they can beat Tennessee, who's a ranked team and will be considered a quality win. I'm not even all that scared of that, especially if Utah continues to win. You got to continue to win. I mean, we've established that point every different way you could possibly establish it. But we're staying the course with optimism, with hope, with the potential for a two-bid Big 12 conference. And you'd really have to do some mental gymnastics if you're the committee to justify based on current conditions. And let's assume those current conditions persist. BYU continues to win. Utah continues to win. You'd really have to do some gymnastics to say, well, even though they did what they were supposed to do, we're going to leapfrog somebody else over top of them. But right now, the Big 12 Conference is a one-bid league. And there is a very strong possibility that even in a really solid year where things have played out in a near ideal fashion for the Big 12 Conference, that they end up being a one-bid league. And that is because of the prevalence of SEC and, well, mostly SEC, but of also Big Ten talent. Ohio State, the pesky Indiana Hoosiers that were not ever supposed to be anything in college football, and Oregon. Now, Oregon, I know I keep reminding you of the teams that you're supposed to root for, and sometimes it gives you an icky feeling inside. You're supposed to root for USC. If you're a Utah fan, if you're a BYU fan, if you're a Big 12 fan, it's going to be running effectively concurrent to your kickoff, 1:30 on CBS, USC, Oregon. You got to hope that USC can find a way against the number 7 ranked Oregon Ducks, who are 9.5-point favorites in that game. And you also have to hope that USC can beat Oregon, but somehow do it in a way that doesn't convince this committee that USC belongs above you, because they're not too far behind right now. And USC, by the way, has some quality wins. So the permutations, the insane sort of possibilities continue to persist with the recently released college football playoff rankings. And the comfort you can find is that what little control you do have over your own destiny the outlook for it is pretty good. You should beat Kansas State. Utah's a 17.5-point favorite in this game. And then you should beat Kansas. And we'll see what the spread looks like. We know that that's an early game. The kickoff time has been announced. It's going to be a 10 a.m. Mountain Time kickoff. So you won't have to hold your breath and wait too long, assuming that Utah can get over the top on this Kansas State team. BYU, by the way, is a 2.5-point favorite on the road at Cincinnati. BYU, I think this is the first ranked opponent And now Cincinnati has fallen out of the rankings, so I shouldn't call them a ranked opponent. But I think this is the first quality opponent that BYU has been favored against all year. You were dogs against Texas Tech. You were dogs against Utah. Obviously, you won the Utah game. They were dogs against Iowa State, a game that they found a way to win, of course, in impressive fashion. So I think that Vegas finally believes in BYU a little bit. As we look at the college football playoff rankings and the possibilities of the college football playoff rankings, you cannot currently extricate what's going on in the present of college football and what might be happening in the very near future of college football. We spent a lot of time yesterday talking about the Lane Kiffin fallout and the ripples that whatever happens there are going to send across college football. And the way that it's being handled, I think, is far from ideal for especially Ole Miss fans. Sports writers are loving it because, goodness, you can just wad up some idea that includes Lane Kiffin's name, throw it at the wall, and it's going to get some clicks right now. But what about the other coaching openings, right? Something happened yesterday that will send a pretty significant ripple effect, could send a pretty significant ripple effect across the Big 12 Conference if it actually played out that way and if it actually happened. I want to go on record and say I don't believe it will happen, but you can bet on futures, right? You can bet on who the next head coach for Penn State's going to be. You can bet on the next head coach for Florida, and right now Lane Kiffin is the odds-on favorite there. You can bet on who the next head coach at LSU is going to be, and Nick Saban is very, very high on that list. Nick Saban is, I think he's a 4-1 or a 1-4. Guess who has the best odds right now, according to the sports books, of becoming the next head coach at 3-1? Nick Saban's 4-1. Guess who's 3-1? 877-353-0700. Text it in. Guess who's 3-1 to be the next head coach at LSU? I really want you to try and guess. Most of you probably aren't degenerate enough to have looked this up yourselves. At least I hope not. I'll give it a second or two. This is a person who has never given any indication that they want to leave the place they're currently at, never given any indication that what they're doing right now is anything other than their dream job. But Vegas knows things that we don't know. More importantly, Vegas doesn't talk to the coaches. They talk to the coaches' agents. And the coaches' agents are the ones either planting this or figuring out ways to try and push this narrative. 877-353-0700. Who's the odds-on favorite right now to be the next LSU head coach? It is none other than Arizona State head man Kenny Dillingham. Reports were out this week that Sam Levitt's representation is aggressively shopping him around. He has firmly denied that report. He, in fact, I think On3 was the one who put it out. He called On3 a joke and said that they're not reporting. They don't know what they're doing. But Kenny Dillingham is right now, for whatever reason, and you can decide whether you believe those reasons or you think those are good reasons or bad reasons. Kenny Dillingham right now is the guy that appears at the top of the list for LSU to replace the recently fired Brian Kelly. Of course, there is a bit of a legal mess happening there with the buyout situation. The new head coach and their agent, I suppose, will probably have to keep a half an eye on whatever happens there because there's, potential financial fallout. Now, I believe that LSU is flush enough as part of the SEC and is probably going to be a beneficiary in the very near future of some kind of private equity buy-in if the Big 10 deal goes through. Maybe the SEC jumps on board right away. By the way, the first guest that came in on the text line was Whittingham. No, thankfully, Kyle Whittingham's not up there. Ed Orgeron, I would love to see Ed Orgeron back. He's basically said he wants the job. Urban Meyer's name came in. It's Kenny Dillingham at the top, Nick Saban right behind him. Now, I don't think Nick Saban wants to get back into coaching. I don't think Nick Saban should get back into coaching. But like we've said many times on this show, these guys are wired a little bit differently than the rest of us. So maybe that's something that he just sees himself doing. Kenny Dillingham is from the Tempe area. He is from the Phoenix Valley. He is from Arizona. When he got the job as a 34-year-old head coach in a Power 5, now it's become a Power 4 conference, he was over the moon about what it represented. He was emotional about it. That's where he met his wife. That's where he started his family. This is where all of his people are from. This is where his coaching career began, when he was still in high school as a player, as an injured player who could not actually be out there competing. So his varsity coach said, hey, why don't you help us coach the freshman team or the sophomore team or whatever it was? Like, he is deeply emotionally connected to the desert land upon which Arizona State football sits. But there's also the reality of the college football world, where Arizona State has done what they've asked, has done what Kenny Dillingham has asked. And they have maxed out their potential in the NIL space, at least for the current conditions, for the revenue share that comes with the Big 12 conference contract. They've maxed that out, right? They're doing the $20.5 million a year. They have activated the community. He keeps calling it Activate the Valley. They've done that at Arizona State in a way that I'm sure could be improved upon, but is a vast, vast, vast improvement over what it used to be down there. And they have done that because he came in and did his part. He came in, identified talent, developed talent, won with that talent, and shockingly, amazingly, gave that school a Big 12 championship in the same year that they were picked to finish last. This is something we've talked about a lot. The reality, though, is that Kenny Dillingham, as much as he loves the place that he's at, might also be looking at an offer sheet, or his agent, I guess, tampering is evident and present everywhere, potentially looking at an offer sheet where, man, look what they have in terms of resources. As much as Arizona State wants to do everything that I've asked, they're not capable of doing this. They're not able to meet me on these grounds. Arizona State can't pay me $12 million a year. And he strikes me as a guy that's probably good with 7. So maybe it's more Arizona State can't give me this assistant coach's salary pool. Arizona State, most importantly, can't promise me a Texas Tech level of NIL spending, because people, the transfer portal is going to be so heavily dependent on the dollars and cents. Not only do athletes care about money and their families care about money, because money makes the world go round and they should care about it, but also people are reading the tea leaves and saying, man, these rules makers keep trying to make it harder for us to earn, keep trying to cap the earnings, keep trying to put the genie back in the bottle. I don't think we're ever going to get to a point where they actually can. But if you're an agent right now, if you're an athlete right now, you're going to go to the highest bidder in most cases. And by the way, if LSU is the team that's offering you a head coaching job, you're Kenny Dillingham, and LSU is like, man, we like you. You're young. What you've done at Arizona State is unprecedented in the short turnaround time. I mean, his second year, he won a conference championship after Arizona State had not won a conference championship. And they're like, you know what, we really like what you're doing. We'll pay you a hefty salary, but also we're going to give you resources that no matter how hard they try, and they will do their darndest for you. We're not debating that. We're not disputing that. I'm not saying that Arizona State, the university, the athletic department, the community, they're not doing everything they can to try to meet the demands and the needs of Kenny Dillingham and his financial desires to bolster this roster. I really think they're doing everything they can. But Arizona State ain't LSU when it comes to its football support. It never has been, and it probably never will be. So as a coach and as a human, you have to decide if the things that you said at your press conference and that you've said damn near every time you stood behind a microphone actually mean what you want them to mean, actually mean what your players want them to mean, actually mean what your university and the community around that university want them to mean. If you say, I want to activate the Valley, I want to turn Arizona State into a powerhouse, I want to make this a destination for football in a way that it never has been before, and then in your third or your fourth year, you come to this stark and horrible realization that, man, no matter how much I want that, it's not possible here the same way as it is at a place like LSU. You have to make a decision whether or not you're going to let Vegas be right. You're going to have to make a decision whether you're going to, hey, I'm going, man. Because this is what Urban Meyer did at Utah. All right? Urban Meyer was the Kenny Dillingham of his time. A better version, slightly better version, but he was very comparable to Kenny Dillingham. He was, at that time, on the very, very young end of head coaches in all of college football. He had taken a program that was respected but not revered and turned them into a revered program, into a, oh my gosh, look what these guys just did. Historic new heights under Urban Meyer, right? And because this is what the reward for that in the coaching world is that you get a blue blood or you get a new blood or you get a big time program calling you and saying, hey man, if you could do that there, you can do it here. And Urban Meyer, I give him credit for this. I've told the story on the air before. Urban Meyer sat all of us down in a team meeting and explained why he was not taking his childhood dream job, not taking his vision board job, not taking the gig that was written into his contract as a zero buyout clause. Go back, Notre Dame, Ohio State, if you had gotten those offers, no buyout. Those are jobs I just get to go take because those are the dream jobs. He was offered one of those. But what did he do? He looked at the tea leaves and he said, man, I got a really great thing going on here at the University of Utah. He was set to bring in the number one rated recruiting class that Utah football had ever had. He was recruiting at an unbelievable clip to Salt Lake City. Had he stayed another 5 years, the program goes in a direction that thankfully Kyle Whittingham was able to keep it on. And I guess 5 years later it would have been, the Sugar Bowl would have happened anyway. So you can't ask for much more than what Kyle Whittingham was able to do. But from a recruiting perspective, that probably changes the future of Utah football in a pretty significant way. Urban Meyer made the decision that any other person in his shoes probably would have made and said, I'm a coach. My job is to win a national championship. I'm going to take the job that makes it easiest for me to win a national championship. And he went to Florida. Kenny Dillingham and Kenny Dillingham should call Urban Meyer and say, hey, man, was it worth it? You won a national championship, and I could potentially do that at a place like LSU. You went to Florida, and the resources and the rules and I'll look the other way on this kind of thing at Florida were in a completely different stratosphere than when Urban Meyer was at Utah. Was it worth it? You won at the highest level. You coached the Heisman Trophy winner. You cemented your status as a true legend in the game at Florida, long before you did it at Ohio State. Florida. You put yourself on a map that you never could have been on had you stayed at Utah, and that I can't be on if I stay at Arizona State. Was it worth it? Because I'm looking at these odds next to my name, and I'm the 3-1 betting favorite to be the next guy at LSU, but I love this place I'm from. And obviously there's differences because Urban Meyer he's not from Utah. He doesn't have the emotional connection and the history in Utah that Dillingham does in Arizona. But the principle is mostly the same. I can get this program to new heights at Arizona State. I can take them to their mountaintop. But is their mountaintop the same as LSU's mountaintop? And the easy answer to that question right now in college football, today, or I guess tomorrow is the more accurate thing here, in 2026 and the near future after that, is no. Your mountaintop and their mountaintop are not the same. In the SEC, the mountaintop is a national championship. It is Everest. It is the mountaintop of all mountaintops, right? Right now in the Big 12 at a place like Arizona State, until proven otherwise, and maybe Texas Tech can prove otherwise this year, maybe Utah or BYU gets in and somehow a magical run results in a national championship, and we're having a completely different conversation. But if the SEC mountaintop is Everest, the Arizona State mountaintop right now is Denali, highest peak in North America. It's Mount Aconcagua, highest peak in South America. It's higher than Kilimanjaro, okay, because you can get to the playoff. Kilimanjaro is the highest peak in Africa. It is a walk-up mountain, okay? You and I could make it to the top. We couldn't make it to the top tomorrow of Everest. That's a more daunting task. The reason I'm talking so much about Kenny Dillingham is because if Arizona State can't keep a guy like that, who is dyed in the wool, who is the hometown boy, who can keep anyone? Kenny Dillingham's the odds-on favorite right now, according to Vegas, to take the LSU job. I don't believe he's going to. I drink the coach's Kool-Aid when they tell me, I love this place. I'm from this place. I want to make this place special. But I also have to try to be a realist and say, wait a second. How frustrating would it be as a coach if you were like, man, look what I did in my second year. Conference championship, college football playoff. We pushed Texas to the absolute brink. Those are two of the best games, the best football performances that your school has ever seen. Look at this. I got a first-round draft pick playing wide receiver for us. If our quarterback had stayed healthy this year, we probably still would have been in the hunt for another conference championship. I need $30 million in NIL deals. Help me out. Texas Tech has that. BYU might have that. And the Valley, Arizona State, looks at him and says, man, we love you so much, we can give you 20. We can't give you 30 million. We can give you 20 and a half. No. If you want me to do this thing, no, we want you to do what you're doing. No, but I want to take us higher. We're happy with how high you are right now, Coach. No, but I need to push us into the national conversation. How frustrating would it be if you're at your dream job and you realize that your dream job cannot take you to the true Mount Everest mountaintop? Because Arizona State probably can't. As much as I want to say that, and people get mad at me when I say it, but like Utah's in the same boat. Utah can win a Big 12 championship, can win a Pac-12 championship, can win a college football playoff game. I am not a believer that Utah football is going to win a national championship in my lifetime. Not because they don't have great coaching, not because they don't have great player development, not because they don't have great talent, purely because in a world that is now completely run by money, Utah will never be in the same category as Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Alabama, LSU, Ohio State, etc. So I don't know. I truly don't. I don't know if Kenny Dillingham, and by the way, insert Kyle Whittingham's name, Kalani Sitake's name, Morgan Scalley's name, because he's the eventual head coach. I don't know if any of those people can truly look down the barrel of an LSU offer and the resources, not only for yourself, but for your assistant staff and for the players you need to take you to the promised land. I don't know if you can look at that and say, no, I'm good here. I think you should be able to. I think if Kenny Dillingham can't, then nobody can, because he's at his dream job. But I also question whether or not in coaching, whether or not these lunatics, these sociopaths who are so football focused, I don't know if it can stay your dream job if you can't win a national championship there. Like, Kyle Whittingham has decided Utah is his dream job, and I think in his heart of hearts knew that he was never actually chasing a national championship. But maybe not, because he's a lunatic. He probably believes that if he can get me into that playoff tournament, I'll go win it. I don't think that really fits here. I don't know. I think Kyle Whittingham, who listens to the show, I'm sure, every single day, I think he knows when I call him a lunatic, it's an affectionate lunatic. I was just having a conversation this week we talked about it yesterday. Coaches are nuts, right? Why is Kenny Dillingham the betting favorite to take the LSU job? Kenny Dillingham is coaching in his hometown at a school that has finally stepped up to the plate. The answer to why is because no matter how aggressively Arizona State steps up to the plate, they are not LSU. And that makes me sick to my stomach. If he leaves, I will go from being one of the biggest Kenny Dillingham fans in the world to a bona fide hater. I hope you fail. Because you can't make me believe, Coach, and then give me reason not to believe anymore. All right, end of rant. Show today and every day is brought to you by our friends at Big Willie's. We have Andrea Urban next. Is that rumor true? That's confirmed? Wow. Utah Sportscaster of the Year, Andrea Urban, joins us next on the Sean O'Connell Show. ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show. Welcome in Andrea Urban, Fox 13 Sports, Utah Jazz and Arena host, 2023 Utah Sportscaster of the Year, and bona fide hater of Boise, Idaho. Andrea Urban, welcome to the show. How are you?
Oh, my goodness. I'm so good. I had to clear all that up. I was like, I love Boise. I started my career in Idaho, but I just don't think I would use my ticket anywhere in the country to fly there.
Andrea, I cannot tell you how much I loved that little offhand comment because it's the correct answer. It's the right thing to say when someone is like, for people who don't know what I'm talking about, the Utah Jazz at a game gave away a free Delta flight and Andrea was with the fan who won the flight. Where are you going to go on your flight? And that person decided that Boise, Idaho is the right answer. And Andrea's response was, Andrea, tell me what you said.
Wow, that seems like an absolute waste.
Yes, which is the correct answer. Go to Hawaii. You got a free flight. Take the kids to Orlando or whatever.
Yes.
Oh, it's so fantastic.
That's hilarious. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been too long.
How much are you enjoying? Like, this Jazz team is a lot more fun than I thought they were going to be this year. I know they're not going to be great. They're not going to be a playoff team, but they are so much fun. These young players have a different level of try and effort, I think, in this new era, and it's just a lot more fun of a product to watch, even if it's not going to be ultimately all that successful.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I think there's a lot of pieces that have been kind of surprising, and I would even say Kevin Love is one of them. You know, he's in his 18th season. What's he doing in Utah? And then this guy has taken the minutes that he wants to take. He's being supportive on the bench. He even got involved in one of my games when I was in arena hosting, grabbed a golf ball and dropped it in for $5,000 for the fan. So you've got a veteran who seemingly wants to be here and is really taking that on. And then the way he gets hyped for Ace Bailey, who had 20 points in his second career start after having a 10-point night in his first career start. They're giving him space to make mistakes and learn, but he's also so smart for his age. And then Keontae George, look at him growing into his leadership and growing into his confidence truly through 3 years with this Jazz team. I mean, the list goes on. Kyle Filipowski's so impressive. I'm having so much fun seeing on which night who is going to step up and show up for the team.
Keontae is, I mean, look, Lauri Markkanen deserves his flowers. I don't want to take anything away from him, but he's almost like he's almost distracting from what we're seeing from Keontae George because, like, Lauri, it's less surprising. And I don't mean this as any kind of insult to Keontae, but he's not supposed to be averaging what he's averaging. He scored 34 points against the Lakers last night, and he's becoming like a bona fide. I don't stars overused, but he's like real talent on this team and in this league in a way that probably a lot of people didn't expect, at least for it to happen in this way. Why? Yeah. How? Like what is different this year for Keontae?
Yeah, for me, I actually think, well, one, the way that he lights up when Taylor Hendricks is healthy and a part of this team, I actually think that played a lot in Keontae's comfortability with this team. When we asked him about, Taylor coming back, fighting back, being healthy, the way that he went from sleepy at the media day to elevated in his seat and awake and glowing when we asked him about Taylor, I actually do think that having that group of Bryce and Taylor and Keontae back together helps them both all want to be great. Now, for Keontae as a leader and as a point guard on this team, I think we were confused with the Colin Sextons and just kind of where his role was going to be. Isaiah Collier kind of surpassing that assist record, so he took the lead there. And I think Keontae was like, well, where and what am I doing here? And I think this year we as in the Jazz have really leaned into letting Keontae be Keontae. And that means a little bit of sass here and there. And that means also picking up your friend when you're down. And I just think I'm watching him grow up. Now, what's crazy, we're talking about growing up. He's still 22 years old. And I was thinking that the other day. I'm like, wow, Keontae's had 3 years under his belt. Good for him. And then I looked up his age and I was like, oh, they're all still growing and changing, but for him specifically, I think we definitely just have seen him get into who and what he wants to be, and I think Will Hardy and his staff have allowed him to do that.
Andrea Urban is our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Did you get to have a good conversation with Will Hardy about his his little outburst the other night over the referees penalizing the ball boy effectively?
Yeah, no, I haven't had a chance to talk to Will. I've been locked in on high school football and Utah Mammoth stuff, actually, but I will see Will coming up here on Friday, and I love it. I love it because I actually saw some comments on social media that were like, wow, this doesn't seem very Utah of him, and comments about just the culture and things like that. And it's like, yeah, but you know what? Like, we can have that and we can have this. Like, I love that Salt Lake City is like, we want to win these games. Go, coach, go. And Kevin Love even, showed him some love, not to bring Kevin up again, but he's just such a well-respected veteran to see him reposting Will and being like, that's our coach. Like, I think that just shows that these guys, despite Will's age or even the record or his abilities over the last couple of years, like people are like, why is he still getting this extension contract? I think it's because Will is very, very smart and very, very passionate and knows how to treat each player depending on their age and timeline in this NBA. And so I think what we're not seeing as fans is Will Hardy being that guy who goes to war for his players, and I think we got a taste of it that night when he spoke up.
All right, because I know you have been working hard on the Utah high school football playoffs, we don't talk about it enough on this show. State championships being played. We've got a big-time bona fide 6A rivalry, Lone Peak, Corner Canyon. These are now like nationally relevant powerhouse programs that are producing top talent, not only for our in-state schools, but for like some of the blue bloods in college football. And again, Lone Peak, Corner Canyon squaring off. What do you expect from this game?
Yeah, this is going to be an absolute all-out war, being that in the regular season, Lone Peak got the best of Corner Canyon, but Helaman Kasuga, who is starting quarterback for Corner Canyon, he wasn't healthy, or he was healthy. Kepa wasn't healthy for that game. So there's so much going on with this team of injuries, and now they're healthy. And so you actually have two starting quarterbacks who I have a story on tonight on Fox 13. I'll plug that. I interviewed both of them. They're actually best friends, not on the football field. They're in the same ward and go to church together. And so under the Friday night lights, they're going to battle, or under the Thursday night lights in this instance. But you've got this history between these two teams. A state championship reigning for Corner Canyon. Lone Peak wants to win it. Like, there's just so many storylines here, and I love that. And I just also love that despite how much we want to talk about rivalries and how rivalries are so real, that both Kepa and Helaman, when they are not on that football field, are friends. And I think that's something that the community can take a lot of pride in, and maybe not be so hard on each other for the rivalry and lean into kind of what these two quarterbacks are able to do.
Andrea, you're too friendly. Okay, you're too sunny. Your disposition is too sunny. You're too nice about this. I want a bloodbath in Lone Peak. No, the thing that for me as a guy who grew up here and played high school football in this state, like, I was not one of the best players in the state. The guys who were best players in the state during that time were often overlooked. I played concurrently with guys that were just as good as today's athletes, who not only didn't get scholarships, didn't get to walk on anywhere. Like, somehow in the last 25-ish years, 23 since I've graduated, the Utah high school football scene has become a nationally relevant recruiting ground, and these two schools, along with the schools in the 5A championship game and the 4A championship game, like, they're producing guys that are Sunday guys. They're producing guys, obviously, that go on to Utah, to BYU, to Oregon, to USC, to whatever. And I know you're not, as long tenured here in the state of Utah as I am, but, like, do you know the how and why it's happened at this level? Is it better exposure? Is it better coaching? Is it better strength and conditioning programs? Why is Utah now becoming this recruiting ground for all these schools?
Gosh, for me, I mean, I feel like it's these breakout like players that do things that make you go, ooh, like actually, for example, what Kenan Pula did with his one-handed interception,
Did that make SportsCenter top 10? Do we know?
That was the number one play on SportsCenter top 10.
It's unbelievable.
The number one play on SportsCenter top 10. They interviewed him after. They said, hey, this is, he's from Lone Peak High School in Utah, like gave him all the glory. And in addition to that, I mean, you just look at even Helaman Kasuga. He's going to Texas A&M, and he's starting under center for Corner Canyon in the 6A state championship. And he already has several championships under his belt, one from his time with Tipview, and then last year with Corner Canyon, although he was injured for that championship game. But if we've got a quarterback going to Texas A&M, Jackson Dart, look at what he's doing. I mean, the list goes on of just what I mean, and there's more. The Nakuas, like, it's so fun to watch them actually grow into just these all-star players, and then almost make people even in the NFL and in college football go, wait a second, they're from Utah? I kind of like that it's like this sleeper, and then there's this aha moment for everybody. And so, I can't really say, hey, new coaches have been brought in or whatever, because I take a look at these head coaches and they've been here for a long enough tenure to where you can give them the credit that they've been around a program enough to build it. And so I don't know if it's this out with the old, in with the new, but I do know that Utah takes pride in being the underdog, and they want to make your jaw drop and be surprised and shocked by the talent that they're able to produce. And at the same time, the less people know about Utah, the more that our in-state schools and colleges get to build their strength with our in-state talent. So, it's really fun to watch it grow, because I've been here for 6 years, Sean. I know that's not that long, but 6 years is long enough. And I've seen the evolution of the Britton Coveys and just the way that they go from proving themselves to actually getting that stage to show out on.
Are you drinking the Mammoth Kool-Aid right now? Is this a team that can win a playoff series, not just make the playoffs?
Oh my gosh! Well, shoot, I'm putting right now make the playoffs. I don't know how they're going to be when it's the same team night after night over and over again, and you got to show up and adjust your game plan. I haven't seen it. I don't know it, but what I have seen is smart, young, skilled talent. I think the off-season moves, bringing in the veterans of Nate Schmidt and then adding J.J. Paterka to the line with Logan Cooley and Dylan Gunther. Like, you look at those young guys, 23, 22, and 21 years old. Yes, they've got their contracts. They're feeling settled. They're committed to this place. I think what the Mammoth are doing means that we're going to have a Mammoth future. I don't know if this year is that year, but I'm not even discrediting them, because they actually could. Like, I love that when I watch a Utah Mammoth game, I never feel like they're out of it. And I know that hockey, it's much easier to come back than a 20-point deficit, say, in an NBA basketball game. But I actually do believe that the Mammoth are going to win. And with Clayton Keller leading the way, like, that guy is vibes. You get around him, he's the chillest, most confident, but kind. And you're just kind of like, how do people like you exist? Because this is just working and it makes sense. And I just love when things make sense. And right now with Karel Vemelka in the goal, and then you've got that line of Cooley and Gunther and Paterka, like, the list goes on. And I'm just kind of like, okay, Mammoth, okay, like, NHL, welcome to Utah. Like, I don't think anybody here maybe paid attention to the NHL, maybe Golden Knights, but like now, oh man, everybody's drinking the Kool-Aid, I think.
That's Andrea Urban. We still don't know if Andrea has experimented with cloning and is able to put herself in multiple locations, because it's either that or she's the hardest working person in all of Utah sports. Everywhere, all the time. Jazz game, Mammoth game, high school football playoffs, Utah, BYU. She somehow appears at all of it. It's insane, but I admire it.
Yes, thank you so much. And actually, I mean, I can share this here. I am the weekend anchor officially on Fox 13 now, so you may, sadly, see me at less games, but if you tune in on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I will be on your televisions every single night bringing you the games. And so this is a new change for me, and it's a good change. I will be at the Utah game this weekend with a 2 p.m. kickoff, but those late kickoffs, I'm going to be in studio now, and I'm just so excited to kind of be a more constant source for sports updates. So that's actually some new news for you there, Sean.
Wow. Andrea, congratulations on that. It's really cool to see great things happen for cool people. However, I'm selfish and I want to still see you at games. So I'm going to call your bosses at Fox 13 and somehow get you removed from that desk. Sorry.
And I'll be in the other room knocking on the window. Please don't listen to him. Don't listen to
I'm
him.
just kidding. I would never. But, man, that's so cool. Congrats. Thanks for telling me that.
Thank you.
That's wonderful.
Yes, of course. Of course. Thanks for having me on, and I'll keep calling me because I'll always pick up the call. So
that's Andrea Urban. Andrea, you're the best. See you soon.
See you.
Wow. Genuinely a good feeling when somebody who works as hard as Andrea, is as passionate about sports as Andrea, sees her career start to grow because of that hard work. It should give everyone out here a good feeling. That is hard work being rewarded. That is the American dream right there. Good job, Andrea Urban. Didn't even get to talk about the college football playoff rankings with her. There's plenty left to get to on the show. And actually, I got a really excellent text during the first segment about loyalty and about whether or not Kenny Dillingham will end up going somewhere. I want to talk about that during the hot lunch, which is coming next on the Sean O'Connell Show. It's ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Hot Lunch today brought to you by our friends at BGR Burgers Grilled Right in the heart of Sugar House, 1202 East Wilmington Avenue. The Hot Lunch today is the California Chicken Club. This sandwich is phenomenal. They take a boneless, skinless chicken breast, a big old fat one. They cook it sous vide style, so you know it's incredibly moist. Provolone cheese, applewood bacon, avocado, little spring mix, tomato, and their signature mojo sauce. Wow, this sandwich is fantastic. I have to figure out something. I got to do a better job of like finishing the sandwich before I do the hot lunch. I got to hammer it down during the break because instead I ate about half of it, and now my mouth is quite literally watering, and so I sound a little bit like this on the air. This has happened dozens of times now. I need to figure out a more professional way to go about the hot lunch, but it is, wow, this is a mouth-watering sandwich, literally and figuratively. Sous vide boneless chicken breast, the provolone cheese, and the applewood bacon complement it perfectly. Avocado, not, sometimes they put too much avocado on it. It gets a little bit messy, gets a little bit sloppy. Perfectly sliced, firm avocado, tomato, and the mojo sauce. Somehow they found a way to improve upon like the aioli of fry sauce. It's just a better version. I don't know how you do that.
You put a little mojo in it.
Got to be some kind of food scientist, but Burgers Grilled Right. Go in there, tell them OC sent you. They'll give you a discount on your order. Wow. I love this one. All right.
It's really good. It's really good. And you're right about the avocado. If you can be, I was eating it a little bit, and then it took a minute to realize. I'm like, what is that? It's so creamy. And I'm like, oh, that's the avocado.
That's the avocado.
Yeah. So you're right about how it's nowhere near too much avocado. Sometimes that can be the case on sandwiches and burgers. That's not the case with this one.
All right. I said 1624 probably gets we need to do a Texture of the Year award.
Absolutely.
2025 1624 might be getting the Texture of the Year award.
I don't think he's missed a day. It's incredible.
And it's not always fluff, okay? Like 1624, apparently I didn't give enough time when I said, guess who's at the top of the betting odds? It's like, you can't ask us a question, then 10 seconds later give the answer. No, yes, I can. 10 seconds is plenty of time to be able to pull out your phone and text.
Yeah, also.
I'm testing your knowledge, not your ability to Google. All right? But also sent this one in shortly after that, as we were ranting about like the juxtaposition of loyalty and reality in the college football coaching world. Kenny Dillingham is now listed as the odds-on favorite to take the LSU job because it seems like Lane Kiffin is headed to Florida. Even if he doesn't head to Florida, he'll probably stay at Ole Miss. So LSU is looking for a prime candidate. Nick Saban is way up the list, apparently. Kenny Dillingham, according to Vegas, probably because of conversations with agents or something like that, is listed as the betting favorite right now to take the LSU job. And I'm like, no. Kenny Dillingham is in his hometown and he loves the job. He's not going anywhere. But when you remove your emotional reaction, you take it beyond face value, you have to realize that there are some equivalencies here to when, like, Urban Meyer left Utah to go to Florida because he could win a national championship at Florida. You're going to have a hard time winning a national championship at Arizona State. Could it happen? Sure. Is it likely? I don't think so.
I feel like the Lane Kiffin wanting to leave an LSU program that he's really got going and is in the national program. Ole Miss program. I got all three schools in my head. The Ole Miss program that he's really got on the doorstep of winning a national championship is more the one where it's like, what, it's perplexing. Like, why do this when you can do what you want to do at Florida at the job you're here? When it comes to Kenny Dillingham, as much as we want to be disgusted about the loyalty, the lack of loyalty, it is really LSU is a clear step up and clear step closer to a national championship than ASU is. But yeah, I feel like the point of what you're making and other people are making is it's more like Lane the rumors about Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss for Florida than Kenny Dillingham leaving a place like ASU for LSU.
So if it happens, and again, I'm doing a disservice to Kenny Dillingham by just talking about the potential of it, but Vegas knows things that we don't know. And it's kind of like just the idea of this that disturbs me in one way, but also like you gotta try to be an adult about it too. Like if I can, so let's assume that on your staff, you're the head coach. On your staff, you've got 10 assistant coaches. Let's assume that like 8 of those people are your actual friends. You really like these people. You want success in their life too. Maybe a couple of them you don't get along as well. You just respect the job they can do. But let's assume that more than half, and probably the majority, are actual friends of yours, right? And you could be like, man, I could take all my friends along with me, and I could pay them more, and we'd be closer to the mountaintop. That Mount Everest in coaching, which is a national championship. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to make more money for myself. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to have significantly more money available to recruit players now because that matters more than any of this. And the reason I know that he thinks about these things is because Kenny Dillingham, every time there's a microphone in front of him, he says, hey, if you're a restaurant, if you're a car dealership, if you're a car wash, why aren't you getting involved with Arizona State athletics? We will make sure that it's worth your time. He's selling, he's campaigning all the time at Arizona State. Why? Because he needs more. Is that going to be true at LSU? Probably also true, but less true, right? You always want more and need more, but he's not going to have to go out stumping for $500 from – he literally said that. Why not $500 from a local restaurant? Well, why do you have to say those things as the head coach of a Division I football program? So there's that reality. Do I think Kenny Dillingham could stay at Arizona State and gradually build the program up to a place where maybe they are perennial playoff contenders? Yeah, probably so, in a perfect world. Or you could be like, well, I'm just going to take the $12 million from LSU right now, and I'm going to do it next year, or I'm going to do it the year after next. And 1624 came in with what I thought was an interesting text message, okay? And I always appreciate feedback on the show. Is anybody sick to their stomach that these days loyalty means absolutely nothing? The only thing that matters is how much they can pay you. You guys realize that you can't take it with you when you die, right? Just once I would like to see one coach not chase the money. Whittingham doesn't count because he chose Utah back when loyalty still meant something, not in today's society. I do believe we are going to see, and maybe Kenny Dillingham will be the guy, but we probably have seen, and I don't have a good example off the top of my head, but I believe we will see a coach not take the money. All right? I mean, Bronco Mendenhall, you can make a case, did the opposite. He gave the money back. But, like, Kalani Sitake is the not going to take the money guy to leave BYU. Now, BYU can step up and pay him. It's a private school. They have unlimited funds if they want to deploy them in this way. So maybe it doesn't end up hurting him financially. But in the past, BYU has not paid their coaches top dollar. So I think Kalani's a guy. And absolutely Kyle Whittingham does get credit for not taking the money. He chose Utah over Tennessee years ago. We don't know what other jobs he could have fleshed out and chased. I think an NFL job could have taken him away. I think that if USC ever offered him, maybe also that. I don't think they ever did. I don't think they ever got serious about that, so maybe. But Kyle Whittingham absolutely does get credit for being where he's at for 21 years.
When did maybe I guess I missed this. When was he being courted by Tennessee?
That was like in 2016 or something.
Okay, so about 10 years ago. Wow. And right before
we talked about this
really
yesterday.
got
I'm really bad
going.
with years.
Yes.
But
around 10 years ago, we'll say.
It might have been longer. It might have been shortly after the Sugar Bowl year. But in any case, like Kyle Whittingham has had very serious overtures for his services at a school. Tennessee is one of those schools where the resources are different. And this is before the NIL conversation was happening. But you could make a case that in those days, the playing field was even more uneven. So Tennessee was the kind of place that you should go to in that case. He gets credit for choosing loyalty to the school. He also gets credit for choosing Utah over his alma mater, BYU, because he had flipped his loyalty to Utah by being a Utah man on the coaching staff, and he stayed at Utah when the school he played for offered him the head job.
And if you believe the story that was told on the drive with Spence Checketts a couple weeks ago during rivalry week, one of his former teammates at BYU told Spence that he told them that he was taking the BYU job. So he flipped. He flipped to stay at Utah even like days before.
So Kyle Whittingham does get credit for the loyalty thing. Like, I don't know that I give Mike Gundy, because I don't know the ins and outs. Mike Gundy stayed for 21 years at Oklahoma State. I don't know if he ever got another offer. I don't know if anyone besides Oklahoma State really wanted him that bad. He was an Oklahoma State guy. That's where he played, right? Kirk Ferentz has been around even longer than Coach Witt. I promise you no other Big Ten school has been like, hey, we want your 4 points a game offense to come with you. This is Ohio State calling. So I don't know if he gets credit.
A all-time winningest Big Ten coach.
Utah keeping Kyle Whittingham, like that Kyle Whittingham absolutely does deserve points for his loyalty. A couple different examples coming in as well. And I don't want to put Witt on like some unrealistic pedestal here, but the comparisons by 1392, or excuse me, by 6754. Dan Lanning stayed at Oregon. Oregon's one of those places where you don't have to choose money or loyalty because you get both. Like, no one can pay more than Oregon can pay.
When what? He's in his third year there? He doesn't get credit yet for staying at Oregon. Like, give it a little time, and then we'll get him. Maybe he's been there a little bit longer.
What they're talking about is Alabama allegedly wanted Dan
Right,
Lanning.
I get that, but it's like, hey, like, let pump the brakes on a guy who's in his third year. Hey, he stayed. Like, let's give it a little time here.
67-54, Jim Harbaugh gave money back. Do not give Jim Harbaugh credit for that. That was not a loyalty play by Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh was told he had to give money back. If you want to stay here, we're not paying you a ridiculous salary. You can't beat Ohio State.
It's like giving Mike Gundy credit for getting his salary cut. Like, come on.
Like
that's not the same thing.
That was not a loyalty play by Jim Harbaugh. That was the school saying, we don't want to humiliate us or you, but we ain't paying this price for you to keep losing to Ohio State. And then Jim Harbaugh was like, I have a solution. Connor Stallions.
I have a way to cheat. Let's do it. Allegedly.
34-37. In the world of sport, the only loyal person is us, the fans. Sadly, that is true. Look, there are going to be coaches. Look, maybe Lane Kiffin surprises all of us and just goes, no, man, I'm at Ole Miss. I'm going to stay at Ole Miss. Look what I've got going here.
But we're going to be Florida. Why do I need to go Florida?
But the idea that he is entertaining these offers, if you're doing it to get leverage for more money, fine. But the idea that, like, your ex-wife, mother of your children, is flying around looking for houses while you're a playoff team. Like, Ole Miss, unless they lose this week, is a playoff team. And even if they lose this week, might be a playoff team. Oh, why? Why are you looking over the fence when you have everything that another coach would want? But I said the same thing when Brian Kelly was offered the LSU job. You think that the Arizona State guy is going to say no to LSU if the Notre Dame guy said yes to LSU? I mean, what am I doing deluding myself into thinking that loyalty matters that much to Kenny Dillingham? Thanks for bringing it back up, 1624. Appreciate you. Got to take a quick one here. Guess who's going to join us next? The most interesting man in the Utah football world. His name is Trevor Riley. He's in the building. It's ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. If you feel that chill in the air, pretty soon it's going to be followed by wind and rain and snow. And that means your energy costs are going to spike at your house. Unless, of course, you call Advanced Windows or go to advancedwindows.com. 801-850-9100, $2,500 off, 10 windows or more. Nate Orchard and Company can hook you up with brand new windows that beautify your home, increase the value of your home, and bring those energy costs down. You don't want the hot air escaping through the cracks around the seams. You don't want the moisture condensing between the panes. Give them a call now. Tell them OC sent you. 801-850-9100. Advanced Windows is going to make sure that your energy costs stay down this winter, and they're going to make your house look better, and the resale value is going to go up. It is a win-win-win for everybody. Oh, and by the way, lifetime warranty. If there ever is a problem, and there probably won't be because they pay so much attention to all the minute details on the installation, on the care, on the sales process. Even if there is a unlikely problem, you're covered for the life of your home. 801-850-9100. Tell them OC sent you at Advanced Window Products. All right, joining us to talk a little football as he does every week, Trevor Riley, Utah football legend. Good to see you again, sir. How are you?
It's great to be among greatness, man.
Wow, that's a nice thing to say.
Well, yeah, I just think that you flow nice, and James is awesome. It's good to be around a great operation. Feels good.
So, Utah college football playoff rankings, second team out right now. We're doing it like NCAA bracketology, right? First team out, BYU. Second team out, University of Utah. The committee continues to show the Big 12 Conference a lot of respect. There is a log jam, though, of teams ahead that don't have obvious losses on the record. There's obviously potential for Utah to get into the college football playoff through a conference championship, but that feels tight and unlikely.
It's dwindling.
How are we feeling as a Utah football alum about Utah's chances to – look, it's great to be recognized the way they're being recognized, but ultimately, if you don't win out and you don't get invited to the party, it's kind of a bummer.
I'm hoping for common sense to reign here, meaning wins and losses at this point in the season, they matter, okay? They definitely matter, but not as much as they should. The best teams should make this playoff. Outside the conference champions or whatever the rules are for that, right? The automatic qualifiers. But if you are a team that's beating teams by an average of 30 points a game, and you're rolling, right? You're on a 5 straight, and you're right there with 2 losses. It'd be heartbreaking if we get out, if we finish this thing and we're 10-2 and we're beating teams by an average of 30. I mean, really, they're not going to let us in. So that's the only thing is we hope we don't get jobbed by I keep bringing up USC. They sit right there with 2 losses, right? If they can slide in, they beat Notre Dame. They're going to rise up in there. Or, excuse me, they can finish the season out. They're going to rise up in there. And then obviously you have BYU. We got to see what happens there. You and I talked off air. I'm concerned about trying to get in there. There's a lot of what ifs, right? I'm hoping and praying that the committee and the country, watches our games, and we, if it stays status quo, we'll see. I'm telling you, we look like 95 Nebraska. We're running these teams over, man. We're a service academy of sorts. Top 5 in rushing, 3 of them are service academies, and there's Utes in there.
That's right.
And we got 2 quarterbacks who can throw us, so it's kind of a special thing, right? And so I am hoping for the common sense. Long-winded answer, but hoping tremendously for common sense.
Well, it's an interesting take on it because there's an argument also from people that the common sense is that the teams that have shown you with the win-loss record that they're better than the competition deserve to be in there. But what you're saying, I think, does matter to this committee. They like style points, whether they call it that or not. They want you to win games convincingly. If we're talking about these at-large bids, obviously, there's teams. It seems like there's 6 teams that are already in, and then you got to shuffle the deck a little bit. I hated the Oklahoma win this past weekend because that kept them firmly in the hunt and probably puts them right where they want to be. I'm a big Notre Dame guy, but I also did not like seeing Notre Dame beat Pitt. Pitt was the last game on that schedule that looked like it was any kind of threat to the Irish, and their resume is better than anyone in the Big 12s. Notre Dame's played some really, really tough games, so you can't, if they keep winning, you can't say they don't belong in there. They do.
this is why we need a 16 team. And Mike Leach said, let's go 64, just like the NCAA basketball. He used to be a proponent of that. Let's just cut a preseason game or two, right? And let's start it in November.
I think we eventually get to a 16-team playoff. I also am torn on that because do I want Utah to be a college football playoff team? Yes. Do I want BYU to be a college football playoff team? Yes. But I also want you to be a college football playoff team because you earned your way into the college football playoff. Utah was a conference championship win away back in 2018.
Yep.
From being in the college football playoff, in a 4-team college football playoff. That's really something, right?
We were close. I was on that staff, and we had so many good defensive players, dude. Go look at that defensive roster. And, yeah.
Is that the most talented roster that Utah's ever had?
I mean, that Fiesta Bowl team, right? If you go look at that squad, they had some guys. Obviously,
100%.
Sugar Bowl team. But when you look at a defensive unit, that to me is the creme de la creme of Utah.
That was an unbelievable team. And unfortunately, the season ended with a whimper.
6-3, I think, to Washington or something like that. Was that the game?
But it was like you look at what those teams are capable of, and the style points matter, and who's on the committee has shown in the past who's available for these teams matter. Like that was a 4-team playoff, but they kept Florida State out because their quarterback got hurt. So that's something that Utah's got to worry about.
Yeah, that gives me hope, though. Okay, that gives me hope that we have that as precedence. They sacked a team who had the win-loss record but didn't have the QB. That gives me hope, OC. And there's some hope there. We got to have a lot of things happen. But if we went out, we're winning by 30 points a game, and we're running over people like this, if they don't let us in, it'll be always the what if, and I think it'll help us push towards. Hopefully, it'll be a piece of the puzzle for a 16-team playoff. I think they want the 16. You give the first 4 teams a bye and run it, or just run it.
The FCS playoffs have been. They've been running for decades.
I mean,
a large format playoff is running at 1AA, Division II, Division III for decades now. You could do it.
My concern is I look at the rankings, right? What stands out is the top 3 teams. And I think that Lee Corso would have never thought that Indiana would be spoken about as a blue blood, blue chip program. But they are now. And they're putting their money where their mouth is. And we're seeing a great coach, by the way. Signetti's fantastic.
He's a great coach.
He's been all over the place, right? He's paid his dues. But they're bankrolling this thing. Right, well, Mark Cuban and the boys are putting some cheese behind these guys.
Well, the crazy thing about the Indiana one for me is that Indiana football, for the longest time, was not spending money the same way that anyone else did. Facilities-wise, right, before NIL, and even since NIL has become a thing, they didn't have the right situation. They didn't have the right coach.
Yep.
And so they were paying their head coaches $3 million a year. Now Signetti comes in, and they're just like, guess what? Turns out we do have the assets to put towards this football program.
That's
Isn't
right.
that wild?
It is wild, and I think they. And if I'm not, I don't want to speak for the school. I would guess that a lot of those big dogs are shifting from. Indiana's that's Bobby Knight's home ground.
It's a basketball school.
It's a basketball school. That's Isaiah Thomas and the crew, right? That's Hoosiers. Gene Hackman, and they made a movie about Indiana basketball, and now they're playing football, and they're whooping people. And they're whooping people in a very precise way. They're not playing. They're not just getting talent in and just running by people. They're out executing, every week. And they got Penix and they got this guy Mendoza. They got it going on and they got the money right. And so as I look at those top 3, I see Ohio State, I see Indiana, and who's the third one that's killing everybody?
A&M.
A&M. Okay, all 3 of them. I would bet if we stripped everybody naked on their budgets, they're spending probably. Top 10, I call it top 10 spending after revenue share, third-party deals.
NIL.
NIL.
We have called it. So Coach Witt said something to the same effect the other day at the weekly press conference. He said, I bet if you do what you just said, I bet if you took a look at what these teams are all spending, it goes right along with the rankings. Except he said that while I think his own team is the outlier.
We're last.
His own team, I believe, is the one that overperforms the expectation, overperforms the spending, it's a really interesting point for him to bring up when he says, look, man, go look at Ohio State, go look at Indiana, go look at Georgia, go look at Texas Tech, who we know. That's been the story for Texas Tech these last 2 years. He said, I bet if you peel it back, those teams, the rankings right now reflect the top spending in college football. I think that's maybe true of BYU. We know in basketball it is. I don't know if football's caught up all the way.
They're spending money, man. My old agents involved down there. Athletes First they got all kinds of stuff going on down there. Tech Bros, they got agencies, they got everything.
So BYU, but Utah is the outlier here. And then the teams behind them, Miami, they're spending a lot. Vanderbilt might be overperforming their spending right now, even though they spent a lot on the quarterback.
They did.
USC is spending a ton of money.
Michigan's in the top 25.
Michigan, Texas.
They got Ellison, Larry Ellison. Is it Ellison out there in Hawaii? His wife's a Michigan alum, 40-year gap or something. She's paying for the team.
Yeah, the Oracle guy, Ellison.
That's right. But so I'm here again, and I'm a Benadai, okay, or I'm some kind of a prophet of sorts, not just proclaiming a messenger. This is what's coming. And Game of Thrones, winter is coming, everybody.
Yes.
And so we got to get organized, right? We're thinking about starting up a club, the 22 Club, man. We need $22 a month from 22,000 people, right? We need lunch money once a month, and that's where we're at now. We're starting to having to source money. We need it from the people. We're broke. And I'm not saying we're bad, right? We're outperforming everyone. We're killing people. We're out coaching people. We're out efforting people. But we are broke, and we have to figure that out. Coach Witt's down in the line. When you hear Coach Witt talking about money, right? He's counting another man's money in another man's pocket. That's because he's concerned. He's deeply concerned.
It's not a Kyle Whittingham thing. Trevor Riley is our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Your last game at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Tell me what you remember about it.
I remember we're playing Colorado, okay, senior year 2013, not going to a bowl game. And there's talks about Gary Anderson taking this gig over from Coach Witt. We were 5-7 2012. We were 8-5, I think, in 2011. And so 2013, we're 4-8. We're 4-7, sitting right there on the block. And Colorado comes out, and we end up beating them. All right, it was a great game, and I chucked the ball out of the stadium and threw my helmet in the stands and got yelled at from Coach Witt. A few penalties, but it was a tremendous day for me and the team. But again, I look at that as kind of a watershed moment. I think there was a lot of turmoil there with Chris and with Kyle, and I don't even know if they were speaking at the time. So for us to win that game, I really feel like it really, I don't want to say saved, but I think it really kind of just kept everything together, you know?
Well, it's funny. It's good to have you here to give a little context, because we're coming, we think, to kind of the twilight, the end of Kyle Whittingham's tenure. And these last few years, even when people were grumbling, there's only like a tiny fraction of the fan base that thought a change was ever a good idea. And in those years, I mean, I was doing radio in those years.
Yep.
There were people shouting from the rooftops. By the way, the first 5 years of Kalani Sitake's time at BYU, same thing. There were people, Kalani's the wrong guy. His first staff that he hired down at BYU, that he had to do kind of the clean out on, where it was like all of his old college buddies and stuff like that. Like, people were angry. People were saying he's not the dude. And
I remember.
I had to sit here and say, he is the guy. Just wait. I didn't know it was going to go exactly like this. But I think a lot of us have forgotten what you're talking about. I think a lot of us have forgotten that there were years, Pac-12 years, where Kyle Whittingham was not as fondly reflected upon because he hadn't had the big-time accomplishment, or it had been too many years since the big-time accomplishment of the Sugar Bowl, and then you hadn't reached the heights of even conference championship contention yet in the Pac-12 conference. And the Utah fan base, like any other fan base, demands their cake now. Give it to me now.
Yep.
I want this. I want to see what I want to see, and I want to see it right this second. And it wasn't happening for a minute, so who knows how close it got.
You know, Darrell Mack and I were talking the other night about his career. He was class of 05, and that was Coach Witt's first year. And Darrell Mack was there for Coach Witt's first win. So to hear his, he was telling me about his journey, because his last game was the Sugar Bowl. Mm-hmm. So Coach Witt has had one of those careers where totally up and totally down at times. But over the last 7-8 years, he's been pretty dang consistent. And there's talks about him wanting him to step down, but I'm looking at the team and I'm thinking, why? This is what we're right there, dude. We're right there. And OC, you're old enough to remember, we were a commuter school. Utah Valley University used to be a junior college. That's the scale that we were at in relation to the big boys in college football. And now we're here.
I commuted to school when I was in Utah. Man. So, yeah.
The dorms are only built for the Olympics. This was an afterthought, okay? They call us the school of haters, man. That's what we used to be.
When I enrolled at the University of Utah, the University of Utah was still a basketball school.
That's right.
When I left the University of Utah, we'd become a football school.
No, that's
because of Urban Meyer's success and because the program was left in the hands of Kyle Whittingham, who chose Utah over his alma mater. And everyone's like, okay, football's our thing now. And then obviously 2008 was what it was. And you get the Big 12 or the Pac-12 invite and then eventually end up in the Big 12. So, look, the saga is well documented and it's fascinating and it's interesting.
I mean,
is this the last time? Is Saturday the last time Kyle Whittingham is roaming the sidelines as the head coach?
I hope not, right? And I have my own feelings about Coach Witt. I think he should take another job, not because we want to get him out of here. In all fairness to him, I want to see somebody back this guy with some cheese, dude. We'll win. When I say we, I'm going with him. I'll work for free for him if he goes somewhere. But that would clear up a lot of stuff, right? That gives Coach Witt a chance to go chase it, right? And it gives us a chance here at Utah to stop the murmuring, I call it. The problem with coach and waiting, there's always murmuring, right? Oh, and then you have a divide. Some staff members who you with. I think that they got a good hold over there as a family, like everybody's in it together. I worry for the end of the season, though, especially if we don't make this playoff. I worry for the murmurs. I worry for the alumni and the people. But I just want to remind everybody, we're here now. We're right here, and we're broke. You give us some money, watch what happens.
I think the only way for Kyle Whittingham to take another job in coaching that's not the University of Utah is an NFL job.
What about UCLA?
No.
LA, man, with some money.
No. Now, maybe if Lincoln Riley goes to the NFL.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
And USC, which they wouldn't. Yeah. But if USC was like, we will take a 64-year-old head coach. Instead, they're going to go for someone who's 40.
Nah, yeah.
But if they said, Kyle Whittingham, come do this, he might consider that, but that's not going to happen.
One can dream, but I just think it's the best solution for him. I'm thinking about Coach Witt. You asked me about Coach Witt. If I was Coach Witt, I'm speaking for me, right? I would say, guys, we either need X amount of dollars and more. I should take another job. You guys, we're not on. Kyle has other things in life that he wants to do. That's why he's talked about retiring. But one of them would be winning a championship, right? Mm-hmm. It's not a realistic goal every year. Doesn't mean it can't happen, by the way. I'm not saying it can't happen. It's not realistic, nor is it fair to a staff to underfund them, much like your beloved Oakland A's, who are now in Sacramento. If you underfund a sports program that has no salary cap, you're probably not going to win as far as a model of sustainability. And for Coach Witt, he's got limited years. I'm just looking at him like, every time we win, OC, we can't afford some of these dudes. How are we going to pay both these quarterbacks, man?
Well, whether Kyle stays or not, this is going to be the most fascinating offseason in Utah football history from a player perspective. And it could go really, really well, or it could be disastrous and a slap in the face about where you stand financially. And that's why you keep coming on the show and saying this over and over again, because you're absolutely right. You have to be able to pay to play. It's
the end game, okay? You know what the end game is. If you look ahead, this is the final, I don't want to say final solution, right? That's a bad thing to say. But
don't say that.
It's the final, it's the crescendo. We have to have this, or we're always going to have to duke it out. Okay, we're going to have to get guys like Jackson Benny, who I love, by the way. Jackson Benny,
awesome
if we had 40 Jackson Bennies, we'd beat everybody in the country. That's not sustainable on the big stage. It's sustainable in the group of four level. It ain't sustainable in Power Four.
By the way, Jackson Benny was a walk-on that now you got to pay.
He's a both ways, three-way player on walk-on. We got to pay. That's right. He's so expensive.
As I love the success story that is Jackson Benny. Jackson Benny is a great problem to have, but he is a problem because you have to pay him now. He has proven to you that he can play corner. He can play wide receiver. He can be safety. All of those at a starting caliber. He's a great special teamer as well. And
I had lunch dinner with him. He's a great guy. He's a great guy.
Yeah, and look, I mean, by all accounts, he is exactly the kind of teammate you want to have. So in a case like that, it is an injustice if when that guy says, I've earned it, give me $250,000, give me whatever the number is, you say, sorry, we can't, because somebody else will.
Yeah.
Somebody else will say, hey.
Right next door.
Well,
how about that one, man? They already took one, okay? And we don't have a lot of depth there. We're playing freshmen.
My counter argument to that is nobody who has left the University of Utah has had a better football career after they've left in the transfer portal.
That's why Coach Witt's the man, dude. The whole staff.
Like,
we're squeezing everything out of these kids.
It really is pretty remarkable. And guys who, by the way, I don't root against guys when they leave, but 877-353-0700, if you know of someone I'm missing, right? Guys who I was like, Jaquindon Jackson, you could make an argument, had as good of a run at Arkansas.
Parallel.
As he did at the University of Utah. It didn't get better. Cam Calhoun left this offseason. He's a special teamer at Alabama. The Williams kid at SC, we can't really judge because he got hurt, but it wasn't going that great.
No.
Keanu Tanuvasa is at BYU. They're having a great season. He individually is not.
No.
So I will say that as we get to this point in the year where the tampering is happening and the phone calls are coming, if I'm counter-recruiting to that, if I'm Morgan Scalley keeping the Wolves at bay, if I'm Kyle Whittingham keeping the Wolves at bay, if I'm Jason Beck keeping the Wolves at bay, I say, by all means, have your agent answer these phone calls and then say to yourself, has anyone ever left this program and gone on to a better finish to their college football career? There may be one I'm missing. There may be two I'm missing. But most of the guys that have left in the transfer portal, it hasn't gone the way they wanted it to.
I had an experience when I was at CU. We came in and cut everybody when we first got there after the spring. We had two guys leave. The rest of them couldn't play a lick, really. But Jordan Tyson and Nico Reed. One of them was at Oregon. One of them was at Arizona State. And that is just the story because those two guys, that's a winner to a season on a team, right? For if you lose them. So to your point, it hasn't happened yet. But what happens if it does happen? What happens if 15 decides, you know what, I'll take $2 million to go play at Nebraska or wherever the heck he wants to go? What about Benning, right? If BYU offers him double the money, man, or a 30% increase, you can start seeing OC that now the money is getting real. Before it was kind of monopoly money. There was no, the market was way crazy, right? Some guy on the East Coast might be getting paid totally different than somebody on the West Coast. It's starting to, what's the word? You're a good literary man. It's starting to come together. It's starting to
coalescing.
Yes, it's coalescing into a language that everyone is starting to understand, at least people who are involved in this. And so that worries me. And the last thing I'll say, we got a real issue at D-line right now. Henry Daly is going to be expensive.
Yeah.
Right? And he's probably not a big-time NFL guy. And no, I don't say he can't, but he reminds me of Hunter Dimick.
Yes.
Okay? And we're not.
The best comp, yeah.
We're not really necessarily trying to have the greatest NFL roster here. We're trying to win college football. So that guy is going to be expensive. He's going to be an all-conference, all-American. And then a D-tackle, right? We lose a senior, and we got some young guys there, but not a lot of depth. And the reason I'm saying that is just to sound the alarm a little bit. We have to still sign high school kids. Yeah. That's another thing no one's bringing up, right? We got these two boys from Lone Peak. But really, most of the money is going to have to be if you're a coach, OC, if you're managing this team, if you have $15 million, right? You can't spend too much on development, especially with the portal, knowing that these kids you might pay them and then they leave.
Well, I think the biggest problem, and you're bringing up a bunch of great points. The biggest problem is that you're going to have potentially. Not guaranteed yet, but you could potentially have 5 starting offensive linemen leave.
Yes,
this offseason.
That would be just.
And the backups have been good, and they've gotten some experience, and so there's going to be a natural progression where 2 or 3 guys do step into a starting role, but you probably have to fill in the gaps with transfer portal players, and that means money. So you bring up a lot of great points. These, thankfully, are problems for tomorrow that you have to talk about today, but you have to solve tomorrow because the transfer portal window is a little bit more organized this year. One window outside of the high school signing period and the transfer portal window happening in January. But I have it on very, very good authority. The calls are coming now. The tampering has begun. Yes. It started, and not even begun. It is in full force. It is a fever pitch right now. I'm looking at James Franklin on my television, just took the Virginia Tech head coaching job after being fired from Penn State. His whole staff that he's bringing with him is calling dudes today and finding players for next year.
That's right. So I want to talk about solutions, all right? Talking about problems, that's one thing. How are we going to solve this, OC? We've been brainstorming, all of us together. We got a big meeting on Monday. We're thinking about starting a club. We got just like the old European style. We're gonna have dues, right? We need $22 a month from 22,000 people. Now, what we're gonna offer, we're thinking about offering. We can train your kids on a macro scale, right? Twice a month, we'll have we have a Saturday training session. We have a signed memorabilia. We have a recruiting trip for you and your three buddies, a sweepstakes model. But we're trying to source it now as a collective group. So I'm saying to all the listeners here, we kind of got to get together on this thing, right? And for $22, man, that's lunch money. Go for a walk, pick up some trash, and honor the two boys that were here. We could do something with this thing. I think we can get this thing together. $22 a month times 22,000. Sean, what is that? About $5 million a year? Will that cover it?
That's a lot of money.
That'll cover what we got. That'll buy us a couple QBs and maybe a receiver or two.
And you might need to do it that way.
But that's the conversation we're having. That's how desperate. Not just us, but everybody. Not every school has the money that BYU and SC has. There's more schools that are in our situation than are not, in my opinion, and we're seeing that play out here with the rankings and with how the season's going.
All right, we got to take a break here. Daily Dump is coming next. And you know what? If Trevor's got the time, I'm going to ask him to stick around because Bill Belichick is part of the Daily Dump. The man, we need to save him. We need to rescue him from his situation. It's the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. All right, the Daily Dump here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Any of your plumbing and drain cleaning needs, check out the Truck with the Duck at Valley Plumbing. The WNBA, did you see the new CBA proposals? James Peterson for the WNBA, what they're going to be asking for as a league minimum salary and a league maximum salary starting in 2026. Have you seen these numbers?
I have not.
The current league minimum in the WNBA CBA is a reason why so many of these women go and they play overseas in their own offseason. It's not a pro athlete salary as we would say it. Right now, if you're a rookie on a minimum salary or a second-year player on a minimum salary or a rookie, first, or second-year players, okay? $66,000.
Wow.
If you have 3 or more years in the league, it's just under $80,000, $78,831. The proposal that the collective bargaining agreement is putting forth puts the league minimum salary at $220,000. So 3.3x, basically, Trevor Riley, what it is right now. In a league, by the way, that is wholly subsidized by the NBA. Now, they have a new media rights deal that I think is finally going to make them profitable on their own because women's basketball has been having its moment, and the audiences have grown, the merchandise sales, the ticket sales, the shoes, which is not money that goes to the WNBA, but, things are getting better. $220,000 up from $66,000. Any chance they pull it off?
I think so. Someone's going to lose money for a couple of years, but it's a good investment. If it scales properly, like the other leagues have over the years, I think it's a no-brainer. My issue with the WNBA is that I didn't watch any games this year after Caitlin Clark got hurt. Now, that's me personally, right? But I just think if I'm doing it, there's probably other ones that are like that too.
The ratings would say that was like 3/4 of their audience.
So there's that, right? And there's great players in college that are coming through, and there might be a few players next year. That's always the concern with women's sports, because they're so far behind because they just started a few years ago. I remember being at the airport and seeing WNBA teams. They're flying commercial. I mean, they're flying with me. They're on the airplane, dude.
That just changed last year.
So along with, and I got 2 daughters. I got a daughter who's really, I'm tooting my own horn, but she's a very talented basketball player. She's a freshman in high school, and she's going to play college, right? She's going to have a shot. But I look at her competition, right? We just moved from Mississippi down south, right, in Jackson. She was there. She played varsity last year in the 8th grade. They were all black girls and little redhead Nelly, but they could run, and they look like, okay, this is what it's going to look like, right? But then you come out to California, and there's a couple girls on the team who have a hard time dribbling. So the game is still in its infancy, and we're still seeing growth. I think it can work. I think someone will take a risk on them. I would.
The same CBA proposal puts an average player salary at over $460,000. Right now it's under $100,000, and the maximum salary at $1.1 million. Right now the league maximum is in the 200 range.
See, I'd like to see them take the baseball model on salaries. I'd like to see capitalism take over the WNBA because I think it would work. I mean, what's Caitlin Clark worth to the Fever? She's worth more than $1 million a year, I can tell you that.
She's worth like $10 million a year.
She's probably worth half the value of the league. And that's a little bit crazy to say, but you just told me 3/4 of the audience quit watching after she got hurt. She's probably worth something, whatever the valuation is of the 10 years down the road, what the league's worth, she's probably worth half of it. And so they got to find more. They got to find. The game has to keep growing, right? Because the talent level has not caught up with the viewership yet. And I'm not being a chauvinist. I'm just saying when you watch the product, it's getting better and it's getting way better, but it's still not catching the eye of the average Joe like it should.
I want to make sure I'm putting accurate numbers out here. It's 55%. The viewership in nationally televised games dropped 55% after Caitlin Clark was sidelined.
There you go. She's worth about half the league.
It's
so she's going to get jobbed for $1 million, right? She's probably worth $20 per year. I'd like to see baseball. I saw a report the other day that Bryce Harper tried to fight the commissioner about talking about salary caps in the locker room, or Manfred. So there's precedents here. I'm hoping for the WNBA to work. It'd be nice to have that league. I got a daughter who's pretty dang good. I want to see her in there.
The reason I wanted you to stick around for the Daily Dump is this next story, because we need to stage an intervention for Bill Belichick. He was caught on camera. I don't know if this was Monday or Tuesday. Monday. He was caught on camera as a member of the audience at an adult co-ed cheerleading competition because his girlfriend, 24-year-old Jordan Hudson, who has been a huge part of the headlines really all season long, is not only doing whatever it is she does in a semi-official capacity for North Carolina football, she is also a semi-pro adult cheerleader.
So she's on the team.
She's on the team. She was competing.
So they're not there watching.
They're not there watching like her niece or her. She is on, and there's a video. There's a video of this competition, and it is exactly what you think it is. It is a bunch of like 20 and 30-something-year-old people doing cheerleading stunts, and she is one of them.
That's incredible,
and
man.
Bill Belichick, the same Bill Belichick that we are familiar with and you are much more familiar with, is there in the audience watching because you got to support whatever the activity is.
Was there any clap? Was there a smile with the clap
There's
at all?
no smiling, and there was no clapping in anything that I saw. And it looked more like just absolute abject misery at being coerced into going to something like this.
So I have my own take on this. It might not be revelatory, but I think he's trolling everybody. Okay?
Come on.
I swear to you, dude. Or there's only two options here. Either Bill is on the spectrum or he's trolling everybody. He's not aware of what's going on, or he doesn't care.
Well, I think he doesn't care is the thing.
But why he doesn't care is because I think he's trolling everybody. I think he's trying to say, watch what I do. I'm going to do whatever the heck I want, and we're still going to win. And sure enough, they're winning. And even the Giants are talking about hiring this guy. This guy is Teflon, like he used to call Dion, Teflon Dion. You couldn't think of a worse off-season as far as TMZ type of stuff, or even season for that matter. And this guy seems to make it through. I love Bill. I think he's fantastic. But I'm telling you, this whole thing seems like – do you remember when Joaquin Phoenix went on a David Letterman show?
Yes.
It seems a little bit like that, right?
You kind of half-truths. This is some kind of method acting, performative sort of thing?
I'm telling you, man, it seems like that. I read a report yesterday that Tim Tebow said when he was playing for the Patriots in the offseason, Bill told him, hey, Tim, try not to be a distraction, please. So Tim gets an endorsement deal for the guy. They need him to go in Boston for one day and do some work for $1 million. He calls Bill. Bill says, Timmy, I'd really not like you to take that. And then they cut him a week later. This guy does weird things at times, right? He's an enigma. I can't say one of the. He's one of those things.
Okay, the only reason I can't get on board with this, even though his college coaching career is not going to be conflated with his NFL greatness, right? He's first ballot Hall of Famer in pro football because of that. He's still a football coach, and they're not winning. He's got a sub-500 team. This is Bill Belichick. They're not good. And he's going to a cheerleading. Like, there is no other head coach in college football right now, by the way, whose team has a losing record, who's going to even their daughter's cheerleading competition on a Tuesday night.
I think he looks at this as like, guys, give me 3 to 4 years, right? This is our first year. We just got here a few months before the season, figuratively speaking. We just put in a new plan. We don't know what's going on. I mean, they say they went to Saudi Arabia, for heaven's sakes. Michael Lombardi went out there before the season started. They're looking for answers because they got the same problems we got. I just spent 3 days in Chapel Hill. I did an NFL brain body thing. I was there 2 weeks ago. When I say they're winning, meaning they're still alive in the conversation. They're not over. They're alive. They're about what they were last year. They're about sub 500 team. He's still relevant. I think that they can still recruit there. My concern, OC, does the fan base and how much longer are they going to put up with this, man?
Okay.
Really, do you think this is going to be a full fulfilled contract here?
No, I don't. And let me ask you this, okay? You're a former player, because this is part of what his recruiting strategy has been. He leverages his NFL influence to recruit players now. On3 just put out a massive, massive list of all the NFL dads who have kids currently playing high school football. And as one would expect, a bunch of them are really good. Gage Weddle, our own guy, he highlights the list. He's a 5-star athlete, sophomore at Rancho Bernardo, just finished up his season. Hopefully he someday becomes a Ute. But Bill Belichick has recruited a ton of these guys, a ton of these former players' kids, right? You're Ed Reed. Ed Reed's kid is a junior this year, all right? Time for him to start thinking about really committing. And Ed Reed is going to go to Chapel Hill. They're going to do the visit. They're going to do all that thing. They're going to see 4-6 win-loss record right now. And you're Ed Reed. You're like, man, Bill, begrudgingly, I got more respect for Bill as a coach than anyone in the world. And then you see pictures of him attending an adult cheerleading competition on a Monday night during the season, and you go, you know what? Maybe Bill's lost a step a little bit.
I mean,
I'm not sending my kid to play for this dude who's more worried about his 24-year-old girlfriend than he's about making this team win.
Well, they say happy wife, happy life. He probably doesn't like sleeping on the couch. Smart man. She's got some high energy, and to your point, you just laid out a story where I just put myself in as Ed Reed. Yeah, I might say no to that too now. Okay, I might say no to that too. I think that at the end of the day,
I'd be worried my kid is going to try to steal the girlfriend.
I heard about. I had a buddy of mine who went to BYU who did some of that stuff. Right, that's not that's not kosher.
That's not good.
I would say that the fan base, right? I'm not concerned so much about the higher ups. They don't want to. No one wants to pay a buyout. We're watching what's going on at LSU. It almost feels like they're married to this guy. How can you pay the buyout? They owe him a fortune. If they fire him, they're gonna have to fire him for cause. If they have to wait for him to screw up or something.
Well, that's cause right there. That's the cause I need. If you're not doing what every other coach in America is doing to try to overcome this losing record, and instead you're at an adult cheerleading competition, there's 30-year-old dudes on her team wearing sequined outfits.
Do they have a little gut too or not?
Yes.
Okay. Well, hey, when's the next one? I'm going. I'll fly in and go, dude. I want to go.
Bill Belichick is standing there in the audience.
Well, did you hear him talking to his girl? They were talking about the film production crews, and they're just they don't know anything. These guys, they stink. Bill is like living his 20s and 30s again, okay? I went through this when I got divorced. I had a few years where I was doing some wild stuff. Maybe Bill's just going through a phase.
I don't begrudge him that, all right? Go through your phase. Do your weird thing. You're old enough to be her grandpa. If she's down with it, everyone's a consenting adult. Not my bag, whatever. But I've gone past the idea that this is some kind of master plan that he's executing and just like, oh, Bill Belichick is just like he's lost the plot. He is wasting his time doing other things outside of football when there are 100 dudes on this roster who are counting on him to be maximizing their college football experience while he makes $10 million a year to do so.
One of his former players was on a podcast the other day, and they asked him about this, and he said, well, I think Bill is kind of like a hypocrite. He's doing the exact opposite of what he taught us, which was he's a distraction now for the team during the season off the field.
Yeah.
And I brought up that Tim Tebow story because again, when I hear that and I hear the Tim Tebow thing, and I remember my own situation there. I mean, you didn't talk to Bill unless you want to talk football.
Sure.
Right? Bill was on the treadmill. We're having a broski talk about Darrelle Revis one time. Is he a Hall of Famer? I said, well, let's go ask Bill. He coached him. All right? So I walked over. Bill's in his headphone. I said, hey, Coach. He says, well, if you have to talk about it, that should answer the question. And so just ice cold. By the way, he was a first ballot, so I was right about that.
Yeah.
One kudos for me. But ice cold. You get it? And now we're seeing a guy who's attending cheerleading camps for adults, right? You know when Michael Jordan used to have those camps for adults, right? And they have those for – so I see either two things. A, he's on the spectrum. And I say that with all due respect, right? There's a lot of Elon Musk on the spectrum. There's a lot of brilliant people there, and he's not aware, doesn't care type of situation. Or B, he's trolling everybody, which very well could be it. Bill's like that, man. He's a crazy, mad genius type guy.
I think you hit it. I think he just doesn't care. I think he's achieved the success he needs to achieve, and now he's just like, whatever. They can fire him if they want, which is a disservice to everyone. Bill, you lost it, man. Don't go to these competitions anymore. All right. We're going to have to double up here. We're going to come back top of the hour between the pipes with Adrian Denny. We'll talk a little Utah Mammoth. 3-game losing streak for the Mammoth. How do they get off it? Hopefully Adrian has the answers. Reminder to all of you out there, text 877-353-0700. Your score prediction for Utah versus Kansas State. Closest to the correct prediction will get a Baskin-Robbins ice cream cake that is shaped like a Thanksgiving turkey. It doesn't taste like a Thanksgiving turkey, but it looks like a Thanksgiving turkey from Baskin-Robbins. 877-353-0700. That's where you text your predictions. Hour 3 begins next on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show, hour number 3 here on a Wednesday. Welcome in Adrian Denny. Conversation brought to you by Valley Plumbing and Aladdin Industries, your Utah Velux dealer. We go between the pipes with our Mammoth Insider. Adrian, welcome back. How are you?
What's up, Sean? How's it going, man?
Going well. Lots to talk about. Lots going on in the Utah sports world, including the Utah Mammoth, who are a little bit hard to figure out right this second. That's why we bring you in. So the ESPN playoff projections currently have the Mammoth outside looking in when we get to the playoffs. Now, we're only a quarter of the way through the season, not even quite for some teams. And we've seen some really, really good things. We've also had some head scratchers. It's 3 in a row now on the wrong side of the ledger for the Utah Mammoth. What's going on?
Well, 1-0-3 in the last 4. So that's 5 of a possible 8 standings points if you want to go glass half full.
Okay.
With 3 of those games being overtime losses. My headache has gone away after the game on Monday night in Anaheim, where the Ducks tied it with under 5 seconds left and then won it. And then last night, the Mammoth down 2-0. Come back on 2 J.J. Peterka goals in the third period, and then fall in overtime on a power play goal. You know, as I've been looking at November here, Mammoth had such a great October. They went 8-3. And the Tampa Bay game that started the month, I think kind of set the tone for the NHL on playing the Mammoth. You know, they were the story of October, scoring goals right and left. Logan Cooley with that 9-point road trip, Dylan Gunther, Nick Schmaltz, Clayton Keller, all off to hot starts. And Utah's a really fast team, and they're really strong off the rush, and that's how they create offense. And I think Tampa Bay came in on that Sunday and put in a really suffocating game plan that kind of contained Utah. And the NHL is a copycat league. And I think as we've kind of played here in November, teams have kind of copied that model, right? Because you're not going to, want to let a team play off the rush with their speed and skill when they're scoring 4 or 5 goals a game and creating that. So that's kind of been the counterpoint, and why I think Utah hasn't been creating as much offense as they were in October. And now it's a matter of, okay, how do they counter that to get back rolling? 10-7-3, 23 points, 13 of the first 20 games on the road. A 4-game homestand starts tomorrow with Vegas. How do you like that, Sean? Vegas, our rival in the Southwest here, coming in twice in 5 days, and then
two of the next 4. Vegas. It's Vegas, New York, Vegas, Montreal.
Yeah, and then see you later, Vegas. Thanks for coming to Salt Lake in November. So a big homestand coming up. Utah's 5-1-1 at home. I think they're really driven by just the energy and the atmosphere, and it helps. Playing at home, you get what's called the last change in hockey, where you get to pick the matchups on face-offs when you're at home as opposed to on the road. You send your guys out, and the other team can match it. I think that's a big deal too. But I think still in a decent spot, finding ways to get points. Sean, down 2-0 yesterday, and you haven't had a lot go your way for the last 2-3 weeks. I think that's a big deal, the way Utah was able to tie that up. And for J.J. Peterka to take over the second game in less than a week, down by 2 goals, and be able to turn it into a result when you're kind of facing adversity, when the game was 2-0 since 6 minutes into the first. I think that's a positive, but I'd say, I continue to say it every week. I think you look at this and say, okay, quarter way into the season, 10-7-3 with 13 of 20 on the road. I think that's still a good spot where you're controlling your controllables.
You just mentioned J.J. Peterka, who, huge offseason acquisition, a guy that I think that the fan base is excited about. I think management and the coaching staff even more excited about. And it's probably unfair to say a slow start to the season, but it's not like it was this splash immediately. It seems like he's ramping up some as we're about a quarter of the way through, 20 games in. Is that fair to say?
I think so. He had 5 straight games where he went scoreless, and things kind of turned around against Buffalo last week, his former team. Coming out to start the third period, head coach Andre Cherney changed up the lines a bit. He swapped Mike Carcone and J.J. Peterka, and he put Peterka with Jack McBain and Lawson Krause, and that instantly clicked, kind of putting the speed and skill of J.J. with kind of those two gruff, non-negotiable third-line players for the Mammoth, who had been playing really well. Jack McBain seems like he wins every one of his faceoffs, and Lawson Krause's nickname is the Sheriff, and he's maybe been Utah's most consistent player here to start the season. So that's worked out. And you know what, Sean? I don't ever want to speak for Bear. I'm never going to try and speak for head coach Andre Cherney. I don't think he was thrilled with J.J. Peterka's first 40 minutes last night. And so to have that, and then the same guy can come out and get 2 goals in half a period and force you to overtime, I think that's a pretty good thing, a pretty good sign. But the way that he's been able to take over and create offense has been exactly why Utah wanted to add another high-scoring forward and why they made that trade to bring him in.
We've talked about Schmaltz in the season he's having so far a lot, and I think we got to keep talking about it as long as he continues to be the points leader, to be the assist leader, to be the goals leader of a team that, like you said, they've kind of added things around on the roster to do what he's doing. And I don't know that he's in a contract year. I don't know that he's the guy we expected to be taking this role to this point in the season. And we've talked about the sustainability of it for Nick Schmaltz. I'm kind of past asking that question. It feels like, for whatever reason, maybe it is because it's a contract year, he's really settled into this version of himself.
It wasn't just an October thing. It's carried into November too. He's got 4 points in his last 5 games on 2 goals. So being out there with Clayton Keller, and he's been with Logan Cooley too over the last 2 weeks or so, it's just been a consistent line that's been able to get you a goal a game or so, when we still think that Utah has more offensively in the tank, but he's been good. He's been consistent. He's been a player that hasn't been on the ice for goals against. So that's huge when you're scoring goals, picking up points, and your plus minus is an even, a +1, a +2 going back as of recent. So he's been really consistent for the Mammoth, and him and Clayton Keller are kind of attached to the hip in terms of, being on the same line together, playing together for, 7-8 years. And he's had a nice season, and just the consistency, I think, is the biggest thing, is, with 21, 22, 23-year-old players, Gunther, Peterka, Cooley, still working through consistency, which is normal for players that age. But you see their talent, see the spark, what they can provide, but still knowing that there's going to be some good nights and just okay nights.
So we talked earlier about kind of the way that other teams have stymied the Mammoth offense with that Tampa Bay blueprint, so to speak. Are we getting the defense and goaltending that this Utah Mammoth team need to have? I mean, it seems obvious to say, well, no, when you've lost a bunch. But Vejmelka got crowned as the guy last season, and he's had a few ups and downs. We've also seen Vanacek a couple of times, including last night against San Jose. What do you think of the guys that are doing the work in the crease right now?
Would like a few more saves from both of them, and I don't think anybody in the NHL plays better defensive hockey than the Mammoth. They allow the fewest shots in the NHL. I mean, you look at it every night. They haven't allowed more than 30 shots 3 times in 20 games. So the goalies don't see a lot. I guess that can, affect the goalie in terms of keeping them active, keeping them engaged. Okay. there's been when Utah's given up a goal, like it's not been because of 5-on-5 sustained offensive zone time for the opposition. It's been 2 nights in a row you give up 3 5-on-5 goals off the rush because you turn it over in your offensive end in the first period. So 3 goals off of odd man rushes. Would you like a stop on one of those? Yeah. If you can, right? You want a goalie to be the reason you win games, not just be part of the reason you win games. You want a goalie to steal you a game or two. So I think we could use a few more saves from Vejmelka and Vanacek. Utah does not allow a lot of shots, but they have kind of hung them out to dry a couple of times here. You still, like a couple highlight reel saves, but I think Vanacek and Vejmelka have played well in spurts. Vanacek last night in San Jose had a stretch of stopping 18 straight pucks after the 2 quick ones by San Jose to go up 2-0. And I thought Vejmelka was pretty solid in Anaheim, but we talk when things are going well, key saves at key moments, and just like another 1 or 2 maybe.
We're talking with Adrian Denny, our resident Utah Mammoth insider. Between the Pipes is brought to you by Valley Plumbing, the truck with the duck, and Aladdin Industries, your Utah Velux dealer. Around the NHL, besides, Utah kind of plugging along and seeing what they can make themselves, who's performing outside of your early season expectations? Like I keep saying, we're 25% of the way through the season so far. So a good time to look back at what we thought in the preseason and see where things are at right now, whether it's above or below expectations. Who's performing somewhere else compared to what you thought they would be?
Both of those 2 teams that we saw this week, Sean, Anaheim's 12-6-1, and like Utah, they've had a road-heavy schedule. They've got, like the Mammoth, some young prospects. Leo Carlson entered the week 4th in the NHL in scoring. A 20-year-old Utah held him without a point on Monday night, so they did a good job of containing the Ducks. But Anaheim has pieced together kind of half a veteran team and half of a young team, and they've hired Joel Quenneville, who's won everywhere he's been. Colorado, Chicago, Florida, St. Louis. So Anaheim has been a team that's leading the Pacific right now that I think has really exceeded expectations. You thought they'd be good because they've got a good core, and Joel Quenneville doesn't have losing seasons. So like Anaheim, like San Jose and OC, in the last month, the Sharks have learned how to defend. And that's kind of been the message, the narrative around the NHL. Boy, if San Jose can ever learn how to defend, watch out with Macklin Celebrini, 3rd leading scorer in the NHL, 19 years old. So
Kid's ridiculous.
He's insane. And I love his game. And through 20 games as a teenager, only Sidney Crosby and Wayne Gretzky have had better starts to seasons.
Now, were those 2 good players?
I think that's something that we can all agree on, right? That's not an embrace debate situation.
Has it been established that Sidney Crosby and Wayne Gretzky went on to very successful careers?
And what I like about Celebrini, Sean, is how he plays. He's a hockey player. He didn't just come out. He played 1 year at college, right? But he came into the NHL as an 18-year-old, and so often you see those guys that dominate college, dominate in juniors, and they're just straight offense. And that's all they do is the offense. But Celebrini will hit guys. You can put him in situations on the ice where you're up by a goal late in the game and not be worried he's going to walk the puck to the blue line and all of a sudden it ends up in the back of your net. I like that player, and San Jose has learned how to defend, and they've got Will Smith, who's another teenager-ish on their roster, who's their 2nd leading scorer, but they have started winning games like last night, 3-2 in overtime, 2-1, 3-2 versus at the start of the year where they're scoring 3-4 goals but giving up 6 and 7. So that's another team. They're above 500 right now. They went winless in their first 6. I'll be honest with you, Sean, when Utah beat them 6-3, second home game of the year on October 17th, and the Sharks dropped to 0-2-2, I thought, boy, that winless skid might go to 15 or 20 games because they are bad. They cannot defend, and they're not consistent, and their goaltending is not good. And then all of a sudden they roll off a stretch of going unbeaten in 8 of 9, getting good goaltending from a guy I really like in Yaroslav Askarov, who I think they stole from Nashville, and somehow they've started defending. So like the Sharks, like Ducks, Chicago's in a wild card spot, 10-5-4. They were not thought to improve, but got a new coach bump with Jeff Blashill taking over. Connor Bedard, his second hat trick of the year last night for Chicago in a victory.
Is what Colorado's doing something we should expect to see through the next 3 quarters of the season?
I'm really proud of myself, and I shouldn't be, but before the year started, I thought, yeah, Colorado is going to be last year's Winnipeg, right? Coming out and winning 14 of their first 15. They're 13-1-5. They've lost once in regulation in 19 games. I kind of expected it. I kind of thought, okay, this is a situation where everything can kind of come together for Colorado, and they've done it with a couple injuries, and they're starting goalie. Mackenzie Blackwood wasn't ready for the start of the season, but I kind of expected that. I thought the Avs would have the best record in the Western Conference and would run away with the Central Division, which they are, and it's a team that Utah's actually played them pretty close. Beat them in overtime here, lost a 1-goal game on opening night. Avs have won 6 in a row, so not disappointed that we saw them twice in the first month to check those boxes.
Yeah, scary team right now. A wagon, as they like to say in the NHL world. Have you ordered yourself any spicy tuna sporting company gear yet?
I was looking into that. I like it. It's a great brand. Like, you got a name, you got a brand, you got a look and feel. That's marketing 101.
For those who don't know, Liam O'Brien, Spicy Tuna, who's a fan favorite, largely based on his introductory moment at the press conference, but he's got his own brand now. He's got T-shirts, hoodies, and performance hats out so far. The Spicy Tuna brand, reasonably priced, by the way. A lot of times you see these signature brands, and hoodie's going to be $200 or something like that. Not so bad. $50 for a hoodie, $25 for a T-shirt, $32 for a Spicy Tuna Sporting Company hat. I'm going to wait for like the second and third iterations of the collection to come out, more selection. But not bad.
And Liam and his wife donating a portion of the proceeds to some local community programs here in Utah. So great to see. I like that hat, the Spicy Tuna Clothing Company, as he's got sushi that he's eating with chopsticks, which is impressive. I don't eat sushi with chopsticks, Sean. I eat them with my hands.
What?
I eat the sushi with my hands. I don't
know what's the. I don't know what the etiquette really is. I don't know what the rule is. I've never been
kicked out of a place for eating sushi with my hands.
I think you're supposed to use the chopsticks. I believe that it's actually offensive if you take the chopsticks out of their little paper sleeve and you rub them together to get the splinters off, because apparently that indicates that it's a poor quality. It's like a low-quality chopstick, so it can be insulting to the sushi chef if you're doing that. I don't know, but I was told that. I think you're supposed to burp at the end of the meal. Compliments to the chef, something like that. What's the dumbest injury you've ever gotten in your life?
Oh my goodness. It shows how active I am. I'm an avid runner, right?
Okay.
So you'd think, he's probably, came down on a knee or wrong or something. You know what happens when you run? I've never hurt myself, but occasionally you'll hit, uneven parts of the sidewalk and take a tumble.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
It hasn't happened in a while, fortunately, but I'll give you some stories. Couple quick ones. So I'm running in Boise during the playoffs several years ago. I'm just downtown Boise. I'm just on my Saturday morning run. Game day, and I hit an uneven piece of sidewalk, and I went flying. And I didn't think anybody saw. Not a lot of traffic. Nobody stopped. Nobody else, so it was okay. I'm in the press box that night, and one of the executives from the league comes in and says, "Are you okay?" And I show him my hand. I'm like, "'Cause of this?" And he's like, that was a tumble. And then my next best story, I'm running in Arizona a couple years ago, and I'm in a canyon, and it's a Sunday morning, and it is packed.
Okay.
And I don't even know what I hit, but I took a tumble, and I am swimming, and I fall. I get up. My podcast is still playing. I kept going, and a couple people asked if I was okay. I'm fine. Like, I was up before you knew it, and I'm running. I look at my phone, and my screen's cracked. I had shattered my phone, but I was okay. Everything fine. Podcast is still playing. Maybe a scrape here, but phone was gone.
Almost more convenient to hurt yourself than to destroy your phone.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
It was a Sunday morning. It was just a bad time to
You're just like,
access.
Well, if I, scratch up my knees and elbows, I'm okay. But you shatter that phone. That's like a 3-hour errand you got to run now.
Yeah. So no torn ACLs or anything like that, but a few tumbles, and you just like, how did that just happen?
The reason I asked that question is to segue into the last thing I want to discuss. The Florida Panthers are a little bit injury plagued right now. I think most of us who have been watching hockey recently believe that by the end of the season they're going to be just fine and probably competing for back-to-back-to-back championships. They I have not seen this listed on the injury report before, but Eetu Luostarinen out after what the coach described as a barbecuing mishap. We've had some interesting ones, right? Yeah. We had gastric distress back in the day for Utah Jazz players. If you are on the injury report because of a barbecuing mishap, that is not only unfortunate, inconvenient for your team, but it's very embarrassing for you because if you're a Finnish man, you should know how to barbecue, right? I'm assuming that in such a cold country, they're cooking over open fires all the time. And a barbecue mishap leaves the Panthers shorthanded.
I thought you were bringing up Jack Hughes, who got hurt at a team meal with the Devils last week, and he's out for a while. And it doesn't sound like it was anything, not on the up and up, just a freak accident. But holy cow, the barbecue thing.
Barkov is out. Kulikov is out. Gadjevich is out. Tomas Nosek is out, and Matthew Tkachuk's got a groin. And now a barbecue mishap. I don't know if it's like a burn. I hope that he didn't cut a finger off or something like that. But the explanation, Paul Maurice said, we don't have a lot of experience with this. When he comes back and feels comfortable with the equipment on him, away we go. So sounds like maybe a burn situation.
Yeah. That's you talk about scraping yourself and whatever, but like you talk about types of injuries, a burn has got to be up there as like the most painful.
You got to come up with something else if you hurt yourself barbecuing. You got to come up with a better story. There was a USC player a couple years ago who got hurt jumping off a balcony because he was like about to get caught messing with a girl he wasn't supposed to be messing with. Do you guys remember this? He's in the NFL now. He's got a hyphenated last name, 877-353-0700, if you can tell me. And the story he told as to how he injured himself was that he was like trying to save his cousin from drowning or something. He gave himself a fully opposite of the spectrum sort of backstory as to what the injury was, and then they found out that it was not that. Was it Josh Shaw? Okay, that sounds right. So maybe not a hyphenated last name. But in any case, you got to come up with a better story. If you hurt yourself barbecuing, you got to be like, yeah, I ran into a burning building to save a puppy. Sorry, coach.
I want to know what he did for dinner. You got to eat.
I want to know exactly what the barbecue mishap is. Because it could be hazardous, right? How many of us have had the pilot light go off? The little spark plug stops working on your barbecue grill. So you do what everyone else does. You turn on the gas. You go get the match, preferably the long camping matches, right? And you're holding it there, and you're hearing the hissing. And you're like, "What? Why does it take it so boom?" Eyebrows gone. Anyway, Adrian, it's always great having you come in and talk a little hockey. Appreciate your time.
How out of my week. Thanks for having me, Sean.
Adrian Denny, Between the Pipes, brought to you by Valley Plumbing, the truck with the duck, and Aladdin Industries, your Utah Velux dealer. We'll get back into a little dissection of this college football playoff ranking. The most recent rankings were put out last night. We'll tell you where BYU and Utah are, and more importantly, we'll tell you where the most likely mobility or losses ahead of them in those standings are. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. 12. 12. 12. That is where your Utah football team is ranked in the latest college football playoff rankings. The committee continues its support of the Big 12 Conference, not only Texas Tech, BYU at 11, Utah at 12, but also Cincinnati still in the college football playoff rankings. Arizona State back as a 3-loss Sun Devils team peeks its head into the top 25 again. Now, what does that mean for Utah from a college football playoff inclusion perspective? Well, I've said it before. I'll say it again. The likelihood with that Oklahoma loss is getting skinnier and narrower and tougher. The committee does say that they don't like the ACC. Miami in the bracket would be in because they would be the projected college football or the projected conference champion to get the automatic bid. But they're not in the top 10. They're not in the top. They're number 13. They're behind Utah. And you kind of don't have to worry about them as much because I think what's being told is unless Georgia Tech can somehow beat Georgia and then go into the conference championship game and maybe lose like an overtime thriller to Miami, that would be the only way, in my opinion, that the ACC gets 2 teams in. So probably eliminate that threat. The committee thinks that Tulane gets the nod right now as a group of 5 champion. Again, you just have to see how it plays out. Could be anybody. But as we said last week and the week before, Utah's really got to be in the top 10. And so, who do you think ahead of you is going to lose in order to drop them out of the top 10? And Ole Miss is on a bye this week. We talked with Jeff Schwartz yesterday, and I talked with him a little bit again last night. And he's actually started to plant a little seed for me that Ole Miss might be on upset alert in the Egg Bowl. Not because Mississippi State is all that great, but because if the next 10 days are just every ESPN login is a picture of Lane Kiffin associated with another job or a question about is Lane Kiffin committed to Ole Miss, if you're a player on that roster who's expected to perform in that Egg Bowl, if you're supposed to win an in-state rivalry game where you're going to get the Bulldogs' absolute best shot, and your head coach is maybe 1 foot out the door, and you've been reading for the last week and a half about how, oh, yeah, he's not committed. Oh, yeah, he won't commit. Oh, the university might have given an ultimatum. That's a really, really hard game to get focused and dialed in and ready for if you're just like, well, I've been having late-night conversations with my agent every night to see where I'm going to end up next year because Ole Miss ain't it. And even my head coach doesn't think so. And
my wife's telling me, or my significant other, whatever the actual situation is there with his ex-wife, who he's now back together with. She's talking to me about the real estate agent in Red Stick and in Gainesville and whatever, and like that's distracting too, right? But the other thing about this that makes the Egg Bowl a potential real upset alert game is Mississippi State. They're not a great team, but they're not a terrible team either. This is a team that, and Texas isn't an outstanding in as far as national championship contender that everyone thought they would be preseason. But this team that was up 17 points on Texas, 2-3 weeks ago, this team that beat Arizona State earlier in the season. So this is a team that's capable of getting up and playing well against a top team. The other part that makes this upset alert is that it's a huge rivalry game. And you combine how Mississippi State has been better than expected this year with the fact that this is the game for them on the season. It's going to determine whether they're a bowl team probably, and it's the rivalry game. And the distractions. This is not the game to be super distracted going into. It's not.
If I'm Mississippi State, if I'm any player on that team, I mean, I'm just talking. I'm sliding into DMs. I'm sending tweets. I'm bolstering the idea that even your coach doesn't want to be there for this game.
Our coach wants to be here in Stark Vegas.
And by the way, the coaches in Mississippi State are going to absolutely lean into this. Hey, you like the state of Mississippi? And your coach doesn't want to be here? Come play at Mississippi State. Yeah. We'll do the same thing here in Stark Vegas. And you'll hear a lot of the cowbells ringing. This Lane Kiffin thing is so fascinating to me because, look, he is a different kind of cat. He's a different personality. He likes attention far more than most college football coaches do. And so I think that he only sees this circus around him as driving up his own value. But
and maybe he thinks his players are of the same, cut from the same cloth as him, which I'm sure a bunch of them are.
Sure.
And it's like, I'm not worried about these guys. They're not going to get distracted by this, but they probably are going to.
You have to be distracted. And the distraction thing is a lot more benign than I feel wronged by my coach not wanting to be focused when he expects me to be focused. Jeff brought up yesterday the Oregon Mario Cristobal team. That was a really, really good team. They had the Outland Trophy win. I mean, that was a really good Miami football team, Oregon football team.
Kayvon Thibodeau, is that the Outland that you're talking about? Or?
No, it was Penei Sewell.
Oh, Sewell. Okay. And Kayvon Thibodeau, I think, was on that team.
Yes.
Too.
So you got a top 5 pick. You've got,
top linemen on both sides.
You got really, really good players, and then they're like, wait, what do you mean he's talking to Miami? This is Oregon, man. And by the way, Mario this is where being a great recruiter, I think, ends up biting coaches like this when they're in a transition. Because being a great recruiter, you can convince people. You're an unbelievable salesman. You convince these guys how invested you are and how much a national championship is a possibility and how much you care about them, right? And they believe it because you're a good salesman. And then your behavior shows that, oh, maybe he was lying. And then they're just like, oh, for real? You were making all that stuff up? That was just a line? That was just a pitch you gave me and I fell for it? And then they're mad at you. They're mad at themselves for falling for it. I mean, it's an issue.
And you're not in this transfer portal era. You're not getting those guys. You're not probably getting that many of those guys to follow you to the next job.
And by the way, the ones that do follow you to the next job, they're not like, well, I better go out and beat Mississippi State. They're like, I got to find an apartment in Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
Like they're thinking about their own stuff now. When you're the head coach, start to, on purpose or on accident, consciously, subconsciously, start to send a message that you as an individual are now bigger than, separate from, different than the team, the unit, the group. You can't expect anything other than guys doing the same thing, feeling the same way, wondering if they belong in a different situation themselves. It is a bad deal. And
if this wasn't a rivalry game like the Egg Bowl is, maybe it's not near as much of a, hey, if they could mess around and lose this game that no one expects them to. But that rivalry game part of it, it doesn't matter how much better Ole Miss is than Mississippi State going into this game. That is the rivalry game. In-state rivalry games in big-time college football can be such wild cards, and this makes it even more of one.
And I do believe the committee would say if Ole Miss loses, even though that's only second loss, right?
Yeah.
I think they would say
maybe they put them at 10.
I don't think they would. I think they put them at like 13. I think.
You think they'd take them out?
I think they'd be like, you lost to a 500 Mississippi State team.
Yeah.
And you have done this to yourself. This is a self-inflicted Lane Kiffin, you're going somewhere else wound. I think the committee cares about the context. I think they've done a good job of making that. And I think they just be like, look, we're not going to put you in a playoff when you might not even want to coach this team through the playoff.
Did you see, was it Brett McMurphy? He's the ultimate Twitter troll, by the way, in a very subtle way. Did you see he put out a Twitter poll was it Monday when the news came out, or was it over the weekend that, hey, the ultimatum's been handed out, whatever. His poll said, if Lane Kiffin, if Ole Miss makes the playoffs and Lane Kiffin takes one of these jobs with the ultimatum. Should they let him coach in the playoff? Or should they have an interim coach like we see a lot, like we used to see a lot in bowl games, right? The old coach is out the door, and then the interim coach coaches in the bowl game. How wild would that? We've never have been in that situation in the CFP era before. How wild would that be?
So weirdly enough, I think that your best shot in these next 2 weeks of seeing a team in front, like Alabama could still lose. They got Missouri, right?
It's not Missouri. Auburn is their next one.
Oh, sorry. Alabama's got Auburn. Somebody else has Missouri.
It's Oklahoma. Oklahoma has Missouri this week. It's a
tough game.
That's going to be a tough game. And that game, just like Oklahoma, Alabama last week, which did not work out in BYU or Utah's fans' favor, but just similar to that game, to last week's game, the Missouri matchup should still give Utah fans and BYU fans hope that, hey, there's a chance one team could fall backwards, we could fall forward in these rankings.
Notre Dame's got 2 3-7 teams left on the schedule. I don't think you're going to get an upset from Syracuse or Stanford.
Yeah.
So, again, you got to win. And Kansas State is a very winnable game for this Utah team. If they play the way that they're capable of playing, we'll figure it out. I want to make sure that I touch on this as well. ESPN's put their latest mock draft out. Matt Miller has the mock draft out. Spencer Fano projected at number 10 to the L.A. Rams.
All right.
Be a good little spot for him.
Great spot. And wait, so the Rams, that must be a pick they traded for if they're at 10.
Via the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay. I'm like, no way the Rams, the way they're playing, they're going to be 10, but that's not their own pick. Gotcha. That's great for the Rams to get a top 10 pick when they might be a Super Bowl team.
He's got David Bailey, the Texas Tech edge rusher, going at 14 to the Baltimore Ravens.
If you're Spencer Fano and you end up in a situation like that, you got to be excited to be playing for an offensive-minded, genius level. A lot of people say head coach like Sean McVay, right?
I think so. And having people someone that grew up in your same neighborhood on the team with you as already a featured player. At 20, Caleb Lomu.
Wow.
To the Cleveland Browns via Jacksonville. No.
That's the opposite situation. See, you would have expected that to be flipped, though, because the Browns suck and the Rams are really good. You'd expect 20 would be the Rams pick, but it's the Falcons pick that the Rams benefit.
Don't go to the NFL if the Browns are going to pick you.
If the Browns.
And of note, by the way, and this is only a projection, obviously, he's got both Utah offensive tackles going before Caden Proctor of Alabama, who was the guy. He's got him projected at 25 to the Bears. And Caden Proctor was the guy that everyone in the preseason was like, Spencer Fano might be the best tackle, but it's probably Caden Proctor.
ESECPN is all about Caden Proctor. Every time you turn on a show or a college football game, that even if it's not an SEC game, they mention Caden Proctor, so that's a big deal. Yeah.
Highest projection for a Big 12 player, Jordan Tyson at number 4 in this particular draft, to the Tennessee Titans via a projected trade with the Jets. So in this mock draft, he's got Spencer Fano and Caleb Lomo's tackles number 2 and 3. Francis Mauigoa from Miami is his top tackle going to the Giants.
Overrated. Come on now.
Yeah. Advanced Window Products is giving their best discounts of the year. You got to call them. 801-850-9100. It's Nate Orchard. It's Jake Weber. It's a family-run business that we trust that's been in business for decades now, passed down, taken over by 2 guys who know exactly what they're doing and who are still servicing the warranties of the owners from years before they even took over the company. That's the level of integrity these guys have as business people. You want a lifetime warranty on your windows? You want windows that are going to beautify your home, increase the resale value of your home? They can match the colors of these vinyl frames to go with your decor, to go with your aesthetic, to go with the overall look of your house. You want them to put in a doggy door on your sliding glass windows, your sliding glass doors? They can do all of it. And every year that we talk to them, every month that we talk to them, there's something new. There's a little tweak. They're improving the product. They're improving the installation. They're improving the app that they use to measure the windows. They're improving the timeline on manufacturing, sales, installation, all of it. Constantly striving to be the best business possible for you, and you get to benefit it for the life of your home. If there is a problem, and don't anticipate that there will be, you're covered for the life of your home. It is a lifetime warranty on the #1 replacement vinyl windows in the United States, and we're lucky enough to have them right here in Utah. Locally run, locally made, and, of course, locally serviced for the life of the home on that warranty. 801-850-9100, advancedwindows.com. All right, we'll give away a BGR gift card with some trivia next. It's the Sean O'Connell Show wrapping up on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Oh, Sean O'Connell Show wrapping up here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Proud part of Utah's ESPN radio network. We've got a BGR gift card, Burgers Grilled right at 1202 East Wilmington. They gave us the chicken sandwich today. It was absolutely fantastic for lunch. I mean, when I say I loved it, I loved it. California Chicken Club, sous vide, boneless, skinless chicken breast, provolone cheese, applewood smoked bacon, avocado, spring mix, tomato, and the mojo sauce. Just chef's kiss. Perfect. Trivia question today. Aha, here's a good one for you. We just told you about the projections in the latest ESPN mock draft. 2 Utah offensive tackles going in the first round, according to Matt Miller. The highest drafted Utah offensive lineman in history is who? 877-353-0700. Utah offensive lineman who went the highest draft pick in the history of the NFL draft. Tell me who that is, and we will give you a BGR gift card. 877-353-0700. Also, make sure you're texting in your predictions for Utah, Kansas State. Closest to the correct score with the correct winner will get the Baskin-Robbins ice cream cake that looks like a Thanksgiving turkey. 1943 says, I want a Utah blow-up, but I really want that turkey cake. Don't we all? Spence Checketts and the Drive are coming up next. He's here in studio with us. Hi, Spence.
Sincerely, what's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you? Like, sincerely. If I ask you that question, is there one thing that comes to mind? Go all the way back in time. Young Sean O'Connell, Beat Digger, back in the day. Shout out, what was it, West Jordan?
No, Jordan.
Oh, don't look at me like that.
Don't say West Jordan.
Well, like
Beat
I know
Digger.
the difference. I'm never out there.
Know.
I might as well be on Mars if I'm in Jordan or West Jordan. I don't know the difference. But if I asked you sincerely, the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you in your entire life, is there one moment in time?
I could think of something that I will never share on air.
Well, I'm not sharing mine, but it may have happened 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, mine was many years ago. But also, like, getting knocked out in public is incredibly embarrassing.
I don't know, man. I think it takes guts just to walk in to one of those rings.
Sure, people say that, but then, like, even when you watch other people get knocked out, you're just like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah. Who got you the worst in your career? Is there one?
The most embarrassing one was a local fight I lost.
Okay.
Hank Weiss. Shout out to Hank.
Shout out, Hank.
Hope you're doing well out there, Hank. He was a jiu-jitsu guy.
Okay.
And so I was like, as long as I keep it standing, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it went in the first round. And in the second round, he faked a takedown and just closed his eyes and swung big because he knew I would be worried about the takedown.
Mm-hmm.
And I went right to sleepy.
Was it like a haymaker?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was not a good situation.
Okay.
That was super embarrassing because getting knocked out by, like, a striker who's you're like, okay. Getting knocked out by, like, a dad bod jiu-jitsu guy, you're like, well, I'm a loser.
Well, I think I'm going to continue to maintain my stance that the courage it takes to get into those rings is something that will take the embarrassment away. I understand the point, certainly when you're trying to fight for a belt or for money. But as you've existed in the regular world, the regular ecosystem outside of your career as a fighter, is there anything that do you need to think about this?
There's something that haunts me, yeah.
But you're not going to go there on air?
No, certainly not.
Yeah,
Neither are you.
No, I mean, I might, because I think it's a pretty funny story. I'll have to think about it. It just happened as I was entering the building, and I feel so bad for the way it went down. But anyway, moving on. How are you? Hello,
Great.
Sean.
How are you?
I'm
Great
good. I'm good. The optics of seeing the CFP bracket with first 2 teams out, Utah, BYU, pretty interesting. You know, like just seeing that visual. Now, when you expand it back, obviously it's more nuanced than that. But just to see the release of the bracket last night with first 2 teams out, 1 BYU first, 2 Utah second, you know, I kind of chuckled. I mean, look, and we'll get into it on the show. Porter's booked a massive guest list today. We've got Ivan Manziel. We've got Yogi Roth. We've got a ton of good college football guests. You know, I think we're just shaping up, again, for the Big 12 to be a one-bid league. It just feels like that's the most likely scenario.
It is nice to see a lot of people in the conversation, but I do have the fear that it's like, okay, make them feel involved, pat them on the back, tell them they're cute, and then go with the SEC kids.
Yeah.
There's a certain level of potential there. But, you know, you control what you can control. You hope for the best. And for Utah football, a couple of blowout wins will make a very, very strong case. And then, of course, there still is a possibility that you find your way in the Big 12 championship game, as slim as that is.
Yeah.
Remember, guys, the second Pac-12 championship, you should not have been there. You needed 3 teams to lose in the final week, and you had to win. 4 games went your way in order to make that championship appearance happen, and then you got in, you won the game. So.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I'll never forget that year where I actually, that last weekend, I'm like, I'm not really sure I'm going to tune into much. And then as I'm following the scores, I'm like, wait a second, this actually might happen. And then, holy smokes, it actually did. This morning, and then, driving around listening to you as well. But this morning, I listened to Joel Klatt, got a little bit of Josh Pate, watched a little bit of the college football live show on ESPN, suffered through that. And then Coward did a little bit. And literally none of the national guys even entertained the path that Utah has in front of them. A lot of the conversation is about the gap between Miami and Notre Dame.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting is Oregon is 1 loss away from basically being Utah. They really are. Like, their best win is Iowa, now out of the top 25. Utah's best win is Cincinnati, now out of the top 25. Oregon loses this weekend to SC. Like, Bama fell from, 4 to 10? Because they lost to Oklahoma, who the committee thinks is really good, by 2 points after outgaining them by 200 yards. Oregon loses to SC this weekend. I think they fall all the way to 15 or 16 because listening to the committee last night, the other thing that kind of tipped their hand about is they don't really like Oregon that much. Yeah. Oregon's 1 loss away from basically being Utah.
I think Oregon's going to win that game.
I do too.
I think Ole Miss is the team most in danger because of the lane stuff that's happening.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And again, it's all a moot point if BYU and Utah don't go out and win their games.
Correct.
It doesn't matter, but it's fun to talk about. It's fun to think about. I have to ask you this question before I get out of here.
Okay,
all right? Tell me if you want me to stay out of your personal life.
No. Go ahead.
Back on the market, Spence Checketts. Would you attend an adult competitive co-ed cheerleading competition to show support to someone you were interested in?
Oh, probably. I like to be a supportive partner. Certainly, when you're in the space of dating in your 40s in Salt Lake, the beggars can't be choosers. Currently in a situation where I'm very lucky that there is a person that seems to show somewhat interest in me. So we'll see how that turns out.
Congratulations.
But if this person asked me to attend an adult co-ed cheerleading rally that she was taking a part of, I probably would do it for her.
Wow.
I don't know that I would do it just to be on the scene. Be like, hey, I might find a partner here.
No.
And by the way, the picture that was sent out, Belichick's girlfriend's partner, that dude looks like he's 65 years old.
Dude, it's so insane.
Yeah, it's funny.
Did you watch the video?
I haven't seen the video. I just saw the picture.
The video of their routine.
Oh, dear.
Of her team's routine.
Uh-huh.
You just can't.
Was it Will Ferrell and
Molly Shannon?
Molly Shannon. Oh, those skits were so good.
Dude, and it's effectively that.
Yeah.
Look, Jordan Hudson, you're 24 years old.
Yeah.
You want to keep living that dream? Whatever. But there are at least 3 dudes on the team that are well into their 30s.
It's so good.
Just an odd situation.
Dude, Bill Belichick, I mean, look, no judgment. I think we all know what's going on.
Judgment.
I'm
giving you judgment.
I think we all know what's going on here.
Of course.
Okay? We don't have to say it out loud, but that must be really fun for him if he's dealing with all of this other stuff, and I'll just kind of leave it there, okay? We'll leave it there for the sake of this being a family-friendly radio station.
How fun does something have to be for you to leave your dignity on the floor?
That's what I'm saying. It must be incredibly fun, and I'll leave it there. We probably should.
We shall. Thanks for listening to the Sean O'Connell Show. By the way, Jordan Gross is the correct answer to the trivia question. Stay tuned for The Drive. It's ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.